Well, thanks for
That's
all
all you can do.
popping in just to say hi. I wanted to kind of kick things off just by talking about how I think that mages are looking pretty defensive, and I'm a little worried because I feel like we're going to be a little too hard to kill, and they're going to have to do something about some of our other spells. But so I'm looking down. Yeah, so I'm looking at the amount of defensive abilities and that we have currently, and then I'm looking at the fact that we're getting apparently more wards, and then also the fact that we're getting altar time, which could be argued as a defensive ability. Uh, I I'm seeing a lot of ways that mages aren't going to die. Like it seems like I think fire is already pretty survivable. In fact, probably like if you look at stats, they probably die maybe some of the least of all the classes. I don't know if you guys have experienced this, but I just feel like fire is like way too defensive.
Yeah, fire, just by nature of having the only range DPS with cheat death on it, is just naturally crazily survivable at this point. So for them to add more defensive capabilities is pretty gnarly. I actually don't know what the wards do.
They
I don't
absorb
remember.
they absorb a specific amount of that element. So like the frost orb absorbs, 5,000 frost damage. The fire orb absorbs 5,000 fire damage.
Okay.
It was never a lot, but it's
Yeah.
interesting.
It's like
I
a fixed amount of only that element.
Yeah. I think it's interesting that you bring up the defensive thing because mages used to be really defensive. Like you remember Mists of Pandaria, Warlords of Draenor, where we had like Temporal Shield and Shimmer and Ice Block and 90% damage reduction, self-dispel, greater invisibility.
Yeah.
So it's we definitely are no strangers to that, but it's weird they're bringing us back there because they clearly didn't like that.
It's gonna make Cauterize even better too. You can Fireward
Yep.
nullify the burn damage from that.
True.
Yeah. The fire ward plus cauterize is like that's a feels good man combo right there. Also, just like I'm thinking of like back in Mists of Pandaria, like Temp Shield. Obviously, we don't have Temp Shield anymore, but like Alter Time is so great. Like I just anytime I think about like Heart of Fear, I think about like me knowing a bunch of damage is gonna come out and just having so many options to deal with that, right?
Yeah.
Should we tell them we do have temp shield still? Cause
Yeah, let's not talk about that.
we do have temp shield.
Omega lol.
PvP doesn't count, bro.
The only alter
True.
time defensive usage that I have experience with was back on Archimond, I think, for the knockbacks, which was good for the damage plus just the fact that it was a knockback. So you're just instantly
Did you not use it on
spot.
Did you not use it on Manaroth?
Oh, Manaroth.
It was fantastic.
Yeah, where he's like pushing you.
Same deal. Yeah, same deal.
Yeah.
Well, you could use Conflict and Strife Major if you really wanted to have temporary shield.
Yeah, but then you have to take a huge hit to your damage.
Well, there's also like nothing you can cheese with it in the current tier.
Yeah, true.
You would have if there was, I think, but there isn't. So
the only thing I could think of is probably just like the oh gosh, what's it called? On the Zot Agony. Basically the circles that you drop, huge raid damage goes out every like 30 seconds or so.
Yeah, it's not only positioning for that, it also big hits.
Yeah.
Pop it and then get rid of it.
Wait, is this how we survive Mott as Frost?
I think so.
Yeah.
No, you still.
It doesn't give you damage reduction. So
yeah, you still one shot yourself. You just, yeah, you just lose the buff because you die. Now I was thinking of, I think the best use case for Alter Time, like whenever I'm thinking about getting it in the current raid, like if that is like a pre-patch thing or something like that, I'm thinking of like just all the times where I want to set up a combustion, but I know that like I have to be moving, right? Like, and especially if I'm like playing World Vein, I just want to like stick to a certain spot, and it just kind of opens up options, right? Like, for instance, if I have to take a mechanic really far away, and I know that that's coming up at a certain part, right? I want to be where I just was. Obviously you could use Alter Time as a movement ability in that case, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I use that on
like Mott, like with the pushback on Mott. You just drop it and it pulls you back, so you don't get pulled into the void zone kind of stuff.
Yep.
But yeah, I used it that way on Blackhand when you were running the
last phase?
whatever. No, the second last phase where you had to run behind the tank.
I even used it in the last phase. Go soak and then come back.
Yeah.
It's basically just gonna be second displacement.
And Manaroth.
Yeah.
Alter Time is a
Same
movement
exact.
ability.
I really don't see them keeping displacement.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're gonna have two displacements.
Insane.
Yep.
Well, displacement it's already only arcane, yeah, I mean they could
Yeah.
get rid of it. Yeah.
Well, it's going to be fucking cancer in PvP, frankly, if you have
Yeah.
an arcane mage that's just yeeting around pillars like 4
Have-
different times.
Have you seen how big of a bait you can pull as arcane in BGs running the flag? Especially if you run Ripple in Space, rank 1. Right? Because you've got the 30-second pullback, you've got double blink, and you've got displacement. And then with this, you also have alter time too.
Yeah, it's actually nutty.
That's pretty crazy. Someone
That-
in go ahead.
That combination of abilities basically turns you like into what's his face, Wesker from Resident Evil, where you're just bouncing around like dodging all.
teleports.
Yeah, and if it's gonna work like the old alter time from Warlords, you can like, I don't know, if you are on the roof on Warsong, you can just activate it, jump down. If they follow you, you just go back up. If they don't follow you, you cancel the buff and just continue running.
Yeah, it's going to be a feels bad kind of moment for Arcane, where you have a potentially like really useful defensive CD that is also a potentially really good offensive CD. So there's just gonna, I feel like there's gonna be points where you want to use it as Arcane, but you can't because of the mana reset.
I feel like they
Yeah,
should.
it's
think
it's
they're
just
gonna-
gonna be another presence of mind.
No, I think they're gonna get rid of the mana thing because that was also a consideration going into Warlords when they initially were changing alter time for mists, right? And they didn't allow it to be a mana cooldown for arcane.
Yep.
So I think that that's maybe like a typo, or they like copy pasted some old alter time.
Yeah.
A typo in those notes? No.
I mean, all the wording is so ambiguous in these notes. I feel like they're going for fantasy when it comes to like how they're writing these things, as opposed to like actually making sense in a lot of cases. But yeah, that is something I didn't realize. I guess it does say mana in there, which definitely makes it a huge cooldown for arcane. At least if you just take it at face value.
That was the first thing I noted, is that now you have some kind of double burn opportunity with that.
I guess the only other thing to consider there is that they did also say that arcane was going to receive pretty significant rotational changes. So how impactful like a mana reset is going to be.
Well, yeah, but
you can
you
kind
get
of
the
assume it'll
idea
be
that
good,
they're
but-
still important, because Enlightened wouldn't work if they didn't care about their mana anymore.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Like, they can't, like, cripple mana and then be like, aha, you've got a mana talent now.
I mean,
It's,
you.
yeah,
They
whatever.
could. I mean, they did. They did
It's
do
true.
that.
It's arcane. They can do
They
whatever
did
they
that.
want.
They
do
did
whatever
that
they
in
want.
Legion. That's literally how Legion launched,
Let me
because
say
it launched
they
with.
shouldn't.
Yeah, that's fair. But Legion launched with crazily mana negative DPS rotations, but also brand new talents that focused on how much mana that you had left, like the original Word of Power or whatever the hell it was called,
Yeah, yeah.
which was completely useless just based on how little mana people had and how like good OP was, that people didn't have to care about mana spending. So that talent just saw no effectiveness.
It is really interesting too that they're basically taking Equipose and turning it into like a baseline ability, which makes me wonder if like the same will happen maybe for like Blaster Master, for instance, right? Like I think that a lot of people playing right now as Fire like really enjoy Blaster Master. It's a weird like rhythm game within the game that you can play and get really good at, and it really has like a huge effect on how good you can play the class, which is kind of weird because I think most classes are pretty easy to play right now, except for Fire.
Yeah, but like,
It's gonna be
there's so much on Fire Blast already in Shadowlands. Like,
yeah, so that brings me into the point of why are they adding more stuff to Fire Blast? Like that ability cannot be more overloaded at this point. It's actually hilarious that the ability is like so core to our rotation plus, or I guess to how we play, the play style, not the rotation, but it's so core to that. And then in addition, it's also going to be Spread Ignite too. They're bringing it back to that.
well, it doesn't work. Like,
Yeah, it doesn't. They're going to have to change something about how the spec plays in general.
they want it to be a control switch, but they've tied it to something that you have no choice but to press in single targets. So you don't have any control. It's just passive anyways. Like,
So you remember when I said that we used to be defensive, and now we're going back to that, and I don't know why. This is
Yep.
also how Fire Blast used to work with Ignite,
Right.
and they changed it to be like the auto Ignite spread, because one of our major criticisms was you can't have Infer or Fire Blast be like your core part of Ignite generation, a major component of your burst, a major component of your single target and then still expect it to be used in some like intelligent way to control the spreading of Ignite. Like these things don't work.
Yeah.
It was changed for a reason. So there's a lot of like we're going back to the way things were in the past, but
not in a good way.
intelligent
It's like
way.
in a
Yeah.
it's like in kind of a dumb way. In a lot of ways, it's like the worst case. I think I like the idea someone said earlier. I'm not sure who said it first, but the idea of having Flame Strike not generate Ignite, instead it would spread Ignite, because that fixes a bunch of problems. First
I
off,
think that was Az that brought that up, or she said just spread it, and then we kind of went
Yeah.
on it. It doesn't need to generate
Hold on.
Ignite if it's spreading
Yeah,
it.
that was my original thing. It was like Flame Strike doesn't do anything in AoE right now, and using it seems counterintuitive to the rest of the way Ignite works currently. And obviously, if they're changing, that's not going to matter anymore. But like, it feels like if you want to do AoE, you should push the AoE button. So naturally, why wouldn't we just tie that to Flame Strike? It just makes the most sense.
Apparently, we're inaudible, by the way.
Yeah. They're saying we're
yeah, they're saying that they're quiet. Hold on one second. Some people complain about audio. Other people are fine. I'm gonna just turn y'all all the way up. 1 second.
But like the Fire Blast changes also like exacerbate stuff like Phoenix Flame, because like granted tuning is so wrong that it doesn't, but Phoenix Flame is clearly intended to be sort of like that AoE option in that row. But then like
All right,
with
this should
Fire
be
Blast
better.
spreading Ignite, obviously having more more Fire Blasts is going to be the AoE choice too. Like
Yeah. It's very
it's just
very
all
weird.
very counterintuitive.
Yeah, it's very weird. Like I get that they don't like Ignite auto spreading. One of the initial concerns that we had when they first did that mechanic was how are they going to balance it, right? And for the most part, it was kept in check by not insane mastery levels. Clearly, they are okay putting effects in the game though that give you insane mastery levels, right? So yeah, it's kind of become problematic, but I don't think going back to this is necessarily a good solution.
Well, that's the thing. Does this innately become an acceptable solution by removing Blaster Master and Corruption?
No.
Does the Fire Blast spreading it become a good solution?
Yeah, just because because the Ignite concerns were kind of managed by lack of gear at that point, like lack of mastery. Like now we have entirely too much mastery at this point. And that's why
Right.
any Ignite problems are kind of exacerbated.
Well, yeah,
So
I mean,
by all of that suddenly going away, are like Band-Aid solutions suddenly okay.
well, Ignite does less damage when you have less mastery, obviously, but mechanically it's still an issue.
Yeah,
Like,
and you're
it doesn't
also
just-
like, depending on the cooldown, I mean, like, I think it's safe to assume that the cooldown will be something similar to what it is right now. And,
Well,
and based on that, you can probably assume that, 8 targets, you're spreading to 8 targets every, let's say 7 seconds, right? It's not that far off of where it is currently, if you think about it. Like, the amount of spreading, I guess, it's occurring, it doesn't seem like it's really that much lower.
well, you can bank it though. Is the
Exactly.
difference, right?
Yeah,
kinda.
since it's more
And since
deterministic, you can choose to use it at very specific times. Perfect example, right? Carapace. So frustrating whenever you have the Psychus guy who's the boss. He runs to the tentacle, right? And you're hoping for
Yeah,
that big
all
ignite
foxy.
so it can all go down the tentacle, and the first ignite goes to a little ad, and the ad instantly dies. Like, literally, there's nothing worse than that, and it happens all the time. It happens literally in every AOTC carry night I do. It happens at least like 2 or 3 times. And if I had the ability to actually choose when I spread ignite, like, I would always do insane damage on that fight, right? Perfect example of how this is better.
That's the thing, though, is that if they have to introduce this in a way that doesn't have conflicting intentions, where they're incentivizing you to have smart ignite spread decisions, but also the rotational execution just incentivizes you using Infernal Blast to generate hot streaks. So you have this like passive ignite spread that's going to happen just by nature of you playing your class normally.
Yeah. Like
That or
just-
you degenerate to the point of just spamming Frostbolt Firebolt, because you know that, say, 30 seconds for Carapace, you need all those ignite or those Fire Blast charges to spread ignite.
Right.
So you've got nothing else. You just spam Fireball and hope you get procs.
Well, you can't do that though, right? Because you have to use the Inferno Blast to generate the big ignite, right? Like you can't generate a massive ignite without leveraging Inferno Blasts.
Well, you'd be using them in the combust then, right? Though.
Yeah, that's like the
Like all together instead of spread out.
Yeah, but like that's the problem, right? You're
But I mean,
you're
the other
waste-
they
you're
could be
using them all.
changing.
Well, the
Fireblast
old
entirely
solution to that,
because
wasn't it
it's
Flame
going
On?
baseline.
Like that Flame On used to be the way that you fix that problem, right? Because like you use your Fire Blast into combustion, and then you would spread it at the end because you'd have like one extra. If I'm remembering WoD correctly.
Yeah, Flame On used to be an on-use regenerate.
Combustion also regenerated a charge of Fire Blast at the time.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So it was easier to do that, but it's again like that's not to me if Inferno Blast is already spreading ignite while you're building the ignite. It's not like you're intelligently spreading ignite, like it's already happening, right?
Yeah. In fact,
Right,
it's
it's passive in a different way.
It,
right?
yeah, it literally
exactly.
is passive. It's still passive. It's just that it's guaranteed to always be hitting 8 whenever you press the button, as opposed to it could chain to some random ad that dies instantly. Like that's really the main difference.
Yeah, this whole like selling point of smarter ignite spreading is, I mean, this is how ignite worked in Warlords. It's demonstrably untrue. We had a whole expansion of this being not true, right?
Yeah.
Mhm. And like the way I see it is they're sort of doing it, I think, like the dream of having control over it is more for stuff like the birds in say Azevara, where like you have no choice but to pull them because they just aggro, and you could say, okay, I don't spread my ignite on this because I know there's a bird overhead, but again, you have no real control because you have to press it. So
Right. You know, that actually brings me to another point. I feel like a lot of the stuff that they stated here in the changes is like marketing. You know, like, okay, so we're talking about the Fire Blasting, right? It's essentially the same as it is now. It's just you have a little bit more control. But like, really, that control kind of goes out the window as soon as you start playing optimally. And then Frost, Winter's Chill, right? I mean, that basically, if you take this at face value, right? Oh, we get 2 spells that benefit from every flurry. Okay. Well, when have I heard of that before? Maybe ever since Nighthold, right? Like, I feel like a lot of this stuff is just, it's almost just like marketing stuff where they're just taking old stuff and they're either rehashing it or they're just keeping things exactly the way they are with a little twist. And they're saying, oh, this is much different.
The Winter's Chill thing is actually significantly worse than that.
It really?
That changes. Well, consider what happens when you when you cast a flurry, right? If you can control, if it's always the spells that are coming after flurry, right? After flurry is cast, you're like breaking how the whole shatter combo works.
Okay,
If it can only be 2 spells, the first spell is going to be flurry itself, and then if you're precasting a frostbolt into it, it's gone.
Well, that depends on if it reapplies for each bolt, because right now it does do that.
Yeah,
This potentially breaks for AoE though, with Frozen Orb and Blizzard ticking at the same time.
Yeah.
The other thing I'm thinking of too is like if I were to flurry and I knew, like, let's say that it starts counting the moment that flurry damage ends, okay, for 2 spells. If I were to cast a Frostbolt into a Frostbolt Ice Lance, right, and those hit at the same time, isn't that just like triple critting in that case? Like, wouldn't I have 3 spells that benefit from it then?
Yeah, that's how it works right now. Is there are 3 spells that benefit it: the previous spell, flurry, and then the following Ice Lance. Or, you know, let's just say that. Let's ignore Glacial Spike for now.
Yeah, assuming proper range at least.
Again, from the
their
current
design
warning,
goal apparently, but like
from the current warning, it could be pretty much anything. We don't know what it means for the next 2 spells. The main concern is that either it breaks the current shatter combo where you want to do, for example, Glacial Spike, Flurry, Ice Lance, and then that just ceases to work because it only counts spells that you cast after. The other concern is, for example, right now you are doing Frostbolt, Flurry, Ice Lance, and you get Shatter on Frostbolt and Ice Lance. Well, if it can affect 2 spells, then why would you Shatter Frostbolt? You would just do Frostbolt, wait a bit till Frostbolt hits, then you Flurry, and then you use 2 Ice Lances, which is going to be more damage than Frostbolt, Flurry, Ice Lance. So this seems like...
So you just don't shatter anymore. Like, yeah, I mean, like, the way I'm reading this, my first impression is I just never shatter Frostbolt again in my life.
Yeah, and I think I think that might be unintentional. because we know how much they love the Shatter combo, at least as it's been expressed to us previously.
Yeah,
So
they claim to like it, but
I don't know if breaking that entire gameplay and like introducing this like weird pause in your rotation just to make sure that you don't get the wrong spell hitting during Winter's Chill. I don't know if they'll go ahead with that.
Yeah,
to be fair,
and also
Yeah.
oh, go ahead.
okay, no, you go. You go.
I was just gonna say I have very little confidence that they're gonna pull this off the way they want to. Even okay, so here's my reasoning. I think even if this comes out and it works the way that we're all thinking it works, and maybe it's better, maybe it's like the best case scenario, right? It's still probably gonna be a mistake because they've been trying to get this spell right for like 4 years and they haven't been able to. I have zero confidence that they are able to make Winter's Chill work the way they want it to.
I think this was worked up in such a way that it was thinking only about the Shatter combo, and they figured, okay, those are 2 spells that we need to benefit from Winter's Chill. Okay, so we'll just make it apply to 2 subsequent spells. But you have all these weird conditions where other things might be hitting during that Winter's Chill debuff window, stuff like a ticking Frozen Orb or a ticking Blizzard or God, I don't even know, mirror image, if that's like actually viable and people take that, you just have like half your pets get the Winter's Chill crit debuff and the others don't.
I'm assuming they'd whitelist it for a lot of stuff, right?
Yeah, but like
possible.
It says and their allies against a target, which I can only assume it actually means like pets and guardians. I can't like does Water Bolt just keep
Yeah.
Winter's Chill? Like
Yeah, I forgot about Welly.
Yeah, the wording is really weird. It looks like they are trying to do Winter's Chill from Classic, which was like a 10% chance to create with frost spells.
It's
Simp
like they're
Frost,
just
baby.
literally describing Frozen as a state there.
Yeah.
The whole thing is just like you gotta see it in game because that means nothing, honestly.
Yeah. Okay, so like the weirdest part to me in all of this though is I'm reading this on Wowhead. They're putting this information out. Their marketing team has decided that this is stuff that will hype people up for the next expansion. This is what they want to show us as here's all the cool stuff that we're telling you we're going to change to keep you playing the game, right? And I don't understand why they would ever bring up Winter's Chill at all in this. Like they're literally just stating, "Hey, we don't know how Winter's Chill is going to work. We think it's going to kind of work like how it works right now." Like, what's the best case scenario that you can paint a picture of from reading this? I can't think of one where it's better than it is right now. I don't understand why they would even bring this up. Like, it's actually mind-blowing to me.
I think the intention of communicating Winter's Chill related changes is to say, hey, we know this has been busted for years, and we know that, like, your distance from the target has been something that has impacted your rotation, and like frost mages standing on top of the boss can't properly shatter their spells. Like this is a problem that we're going to try to address. The problem with the note as it is that it doesn't effectively communicate how they're going to solve all these other weird edge cases that we're talking about, and it only focuses on like the one major problem, which is like the distance problem.
But I mean, that doesn't even really solve the distance problem for the spell prior.
I mean, yeah, they're definitely not solving anything they're trying to solve with it, but I think their overall intent is to make it clear for like that, that casual player who's just playing the game, isn't in, 10 discords, isn't reading every guide ever put out, and understanding that all these travel times and distances and they just Winter's Chill affects 2 spells.
Yeah, I don't think this presents a good solution as much as it presents the fact that they're focusing on finding it. Whether that happens or not is will just remain to be seen.
I think the intent behind it is good, but utterly it's
okay.
So
it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. Someone in my chat goes they needed something to put in the frost section.
Oh, the Arcane 1 trick over here.
Whoa. So if you actually read what they posted, what Blizzard themselves posted, they said that this was in addition to mirror image and alter time. Frost mages are going to have cool new abilities to weave into their gameplay.
New abilities, I love it.
You can weave mirror image and alter time into the frost rotation.
Oh my god, I love weaving.
I'm gonna smack you.
It's gonna be sick. It's like once every 60 seconds, I slap on that fucking mirror image button. I'm weaving, baby.
Yeah, imagine casting 2 spells and calling it weaving. Hey, how do I find the original notes?
Oh,
I can link them.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
There should be like a view original button or something, isn't there?
Yeah,
There
I
is.
don't.
It
Oh,
should be at the top, but I linked it in
Here,
Discord.
I'll link the this is the Shadow of Covenant
1 second.
one if you wanted that one too.
I think we pinned them all on the new Mage channel as well, but
Yeah, we did.
But that would require go back in there.
it's
I
true.
went to cam
That's-
so I could sneak in there and not leak anymore. Okay, there we go. Cool.
No more leaks.
Oh, yeah. So, I'm kind of just scrolling
That's the
through all
Covenant
the Covenant stuff.
Yeah.
I feel like none of this. I feel like I don't even want to look at this right now. Like all this is gonna change so much. I don't even know like if there's any value in me even talking about this, unless you guys want to discuss this.
I
Stuff.
think there's value in pointing out that Arcane is locked in for the whole expansion already. That really pisses me off.
So,
mean-
which one is it for Arcane?
Deathborn, because it buffs, it
Their only
greatly enhances.
Oh, I see
the
this.
spell
Okay.
that
Arcane
does
Blast.
70 to 80%.
Wait, hold on. It's Frostbolt, Fireball, and then Arcane Blast. One of these is not like the other. What are
Yeah,
they?
I feel
You
like
gotta
they're-
imagine they have different tuning, but who knows?
Yeah, they have
yeah,
to. Like there's
it has to be different.
there's
but-
no way that they just say like 50% to all of these, because then you would never choose this.
But even if it's different, like you're in a state right now where Arcane, its primary damage output is from one single ability, and its primary damage output is based around stacking as many damage multipliers at the same time. Here is a brand new one that affects that one spell.
Yeah, but
Like,
you get to be a
it's
skeletal
game
mage.
over for everything else.
You get to be a skeletal mage though. That's fucking sick, dude.
Yeah, and it's fucking badass, dude. Like,
Yeah, well, and
Game
we got,
over
mirror,
for
we got mirror
Arcane.
images back, so you get 4 skeletal mages, you know?
yeah, so you look like you're playing Diablo 3 or whatever the fuck.
I mean, the like wrench in that is they did say they were messing with the arcane rotation.
Yeah, they also said that they are looking at those covenant things, and the thing's so vague, who really knows? Like, you get some undescribed spell power increase to everything, and then also separately enhance those 3 spells, which you have to assume isn't just a multiplier, because otherwise it would just be the same spell power increase. But
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
fuck knows what they're doing. I don't
did you
know.
guys play? Did you guys play at BlizzCon? The like sample.
Yeah, totally.
No.
I can afford to go to BlizzCon.
No, I didn't go to BlizzCon. Deke, did you go this year?
Yes. So I can tell you the Radiant
not
Spark
play.
move. Basically, it just is like the next 3 spells you cast just have 25% increased damage, and it keeps going up to 100%. So, like, if I were to use that spell, and then let's say I was in Combustion, right? And I were to do like Fire Blast, Pyroblast, 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 or Pyroblast, Fireblast, Pyroblast, Meteor, then the final spell would just be a double damage multiplier on it. So it just
That'll
averages
increase
out to
the
be
actual spike.
it just averages out to be like 50% more damage during that window for the next 4 spells. But yeah, that it wasn't. It was like super non-factor, but I mean, I could see it being important for like Meteor, for instance, right? Like that could end up making Meteor better than another spec just because you could always amp your Meteor, right? Stuff like that.
Yeah, that's what Dorvan was saying when he initially saw Radiant Spark. Was his first thought was like, how do you time it in the combustion window to always land the meteor at the apex of it, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm sure we'll figure that out in like 1 week. Just like the
Yeah.
Blaster Master stuff.
Probably.
I don't know. Covenants in general, I just think are dumb, because like you read them, they all have different use cases. So you're just gonna take the one that is generic, because like why do these niche ones matter when it's a 3-week thing to switch? You know, like cool, the one does more AOE damage, but you can't use it because it would take you a month to actually take it.
Yeah, I have concerns about the system overall. That remains to be seen how they actually implement it for the end game. But for mage specific stuff, the fact that one of them was tied to Arcane Blast is the only one that like stood out to me as being broken. The Radiant Spark stuff affecting Meteor, that's pretty big too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I pulled up the page about Frost where it says, yeah, mirror image, alter time, cool new abilities. Sorry, I just started laughing when I read this. This is actually the first time I've read this part. I didn't know what you guys were memeing earlier, but cool new abilities to weave into their gameplay. Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Just
Crazy,
mash them,
right?
dude.
That's crazy, right?
That's crazy. I never thought of it that way. Wow. We're weaving spells. That's crazy, man. Okay.
Weave is my
definitely-
trigger term right now, by the way.
I definitely think that they needed something to put into the Frost section. I think it was Sigrun who said that, and that was really all that they had. Because yeah, like clearly for Fire, they have thought a little bit more about it, right? Like they address Blast Wave in there and Ignite, and for Arcane, they're talking about like redoing the whole rotation. For Frost, I mean,
It's still more text than Warlocks.
I mean,
But it's
Yeah.
still like saying nothing. There's a description of Frozen in there.
yeah,
I
I
mean-
mean, say one of the more noticeable changes. So there's presumably something else as well. But
yeah, maybe.
like, why reiterate Winter's Chill? And I can imagine that the Winter's Chill changes because, at least from what I've heard, Blizzard was having a hard time kind of directing new players to the whole Flurry and Winter's Chill will shatter the spell cast before it thing. There was no real clean way to show a new player, like, yeah, this is how this works.
You mean like that tips page they had for one expansion that they removed?
Yeah!
Oh, maybe
I
they
don't
should
know.
bring that back. I don't know why it got taken out.
But I assume like the two spells mechanic is to be like, hey, you can do something with this, but like without any information on, you know, are they changing how frost spells work? Is it going back to everything calculated on cast rather than an impact? Is there, you know, what's the duration on the debuff?
Yeah.
What's happening? We don't know. This is the vaguest patch note I've ever read.
Yeah. All I get from this really is just that you're gonna have to run a Frost Mage for the crit buff. That's like the TLDR of this, and honestly, it comes across like someone trying to write a report and they're like they need to add more words, right? Because they're not really saying much here.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
and even then, like if you consider the typo above in the general mage area where they said that Arcane Mage gets the focus magic.
Oh yes.
Like
Well, that's-
this could just be Frost Mage and their allies referring to like
Well,
Water
your
Elemental
images.
and your mirror images. Yeah.
Mm,
Which
yeah,
which is what I have to assume it is. There's no way they bring it back.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, I'd hope so. But still, like if you look at this section, it basically best case scenario when it works like just like it does now, it's just a technical behind the scenes change that doesn't affect how you play.
Yeah.
And that's basically the entirety of the frost nodes.
I mean, they did say noticeable change, so that would be noticeable.
I mean, to be fair, they also said that the Warlock defensive ability is getting buffed to do more damage. So
They did fix
Wait,
that.
so where's
apparently.
the
They did.
Warlock thing? That's so
they,
funny.
they fixed it. now.
Scroll down to Demonology.
They fixed it.
Yeah, it
It's
should be
long since
fixed.
fixed, but Demonology, not Destruction. Death Pact will now scale with spell power to deal more damage than ever before, is what the original page had said.
Oh, and it doesn't deal damage. Okay, I gotcha.
Oh, it does deal damage to the Warlock.
Oh.
Big scaling.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, it's good whenever things scale. Big numbers are good. Yeah, I think it's kind of funny. I mean, so like reading through these notes, obviously I'm very excited to get back some of these core abilities like Arcane Explosion and Mirror Image, especially Mirror Image. I gotta say I miss Mirror Image a lot. But
So I've got to ask why.
why do I like Mirror Image? Okay, so the reason I like Mirror Image is because Mirror Image was a way for me to always ensure that I never pulled aggro during very specific windows on the fight. So
Okay.
what I mean by that is like, let's say for instance, I'm doing Raw Den, and the first set of ads are coming out. We just got done killing the orb, right? It happens all the time where I will pull aggro on the shadow ad and get cauterized like instantly. It happens 10 out of 10 times. Like, and it's not even the tank's fault. Like they're taunting the ad. It's just that Ignite is like too powerful with all Masterful Corruptions and 3 of 3 Blaster Master, right? Like your Ignite is just too powerful, and unless the tank gets like a TD proc, they're not gonna be able to hold aggro off you. So like Mirror Image has always been the ability you can use as padding. You just use your Mirror Image and then you're like, okay, I'm good for at least 20 seconds. Like I got enough time to, you know, and I can just invis at the end if like I have too much throw or something like that.
Okay, that's fair.
It's just also like so distinctly mage that I missed it more than any actual like usage. Like yes, it does have its uses. Like it helps in open world, it helps with thread, as Preheat said, but like there's just something to be said about, you know, spawning the copies of you.
Yeah.
Spells.
I also like taking like a really stupid image from someone in raid, like they turn to like some, you know, let's say they turn to like their pet and they're like a little ooze or something like that, and then you take the image right with illusion and then you pop Mirror Image and now you got your homies. It's pretty cool too.
The
Alright.
panda from the bamboo, dude. Like that's just, it makes my day. There's four little pandas chucking frostbolts. Makes my day, and that's all it is. What else matters?
I was curious if there was like an actual reason aside from just the threat, but
Yeah, so the
that's
other thing
fine.
too is like I really miss Mirror Image because, you know, once again I did like 1,000 islands, right? And whenever you do an island, I was running the heirloom trinket that reduces your threat. Like that's how bad threat is in an island scenario with Living Bomb and Crit Brew. Like, yeah, everything dies like instantly, but the stuff that doesn't die is all gonna turn and try and kill you instantly. So like, and you only have Ice Block like 1 in every 3 islands, right? So, I don't know, like any stuff like that that can help mitigate like, I guess snap threat is very useful.
Yeah, I totally want to spell back so I can do 3,000 islands again next expansion.
Yeah.
How does Mirror Image fix this problem though? Like, am I dumb, or does that have a threat reduction?
It has a threat.
Yeah.
No, it's actually a fade effect. It gives you negative 13 million threat over its duration.
Really?
Yeah, you can't
Yeah,
have
it's
threat.
literally just a better fade.
They can
I
get
didn't
threat
know
because they do
that.
a little bit of damage, but they don't get it easy.
Yeah, basically, like for the duration of mirror images, you have like at the start negative 13 million threat, and you can build up from there. So when the thing ends, you get all your threat back.
Yeah, you always get your threat back at the end, but it was also really useful. I think there were 2 times when I was raiding Throne of Thunder where it was like a wipe, and I ended up clutching it because I used mirrors at the end, and the boss had to go in melee each one individually, which took, you know, like depending on the boss's melee, right? Like it could be like 6 seconds, right? Like if the boss has a really slow melee swing, like you can clutch it.
Yeah, that's super niche, but that's
It is, but it's still like niche stuff like that is like what makes the game cool to me, at least. I like shit like that.
Back in Kata, it was like almost necessary to hit mirror
Well,
images because
yeah.
you would do so much burst that you would pull aggro if you didn't hit them.
And
But
you
they-
say them taking melee hits is niche, but like realistically, even someone like Preheat, like rating at the high end, like you spend a shit ton of time in the open world by yourself. Like,
Yeah.
it's not that niche. Like,
Yeah.
and like you go to like some of those like in the invasion, some of those rares with like 20 million HP, like it helps. You can't burst them down.
I mean, you could have used it in Visions too before everyone got all buffed with the tech tree and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
another thing that's interesting too, and someone's actually asked about this in chat, Arcane Explosions. So I mean, like, it all obviously depends on tuning, but like, Arcane Explosion is always nice because it's upfront damage. You know what I mean? Like, there are a lot of scenarios where I'm playing fire and I'm like, damn, I wish I could just cast an ability that did all my AoE straight up front. I already used my Dragon's Breath, so I can't do that one. I have to do a different one, right? There are a lot of times where I'm thinking that, or like in a scenario where you're doing Carapace, for instance, right? And all the little ads come out. There's like a fuck ton of little ads. And if I'm, you know, flame striking, I might ruin some ignites I have because I just combusted. Arcane Explosion is nice for like those weird edge cases, I think.
Yeah, stuff like the slimes in Shrine too.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff.
Yeah.
That just
Or
you can't do
makes you
anything
feel
to.
like you're doing something in AoE. Just
Yeah,
above
like,
you're moving
Granted, those
too.
ads don't matter, but like you're still doing something, which is nice. Instead of like, okay, this is a 30 pull, but I'm fireballing the like 1 caster in it
Yeah.
because it's the only mob that's gonna live.
It's also gonna be amazing for old raids.
Oh, true.
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
For farming old stuff.
Yeah, de-stealthing, stuff like that too.
Yeah, PvP, it's always great.
I am
Tagging mobs
curious.
too. Oh, go
I
ahead.
was gonna say I'm slightly curious as to why they're giving Fire Blast to everyone though.
It helps Arcane because it gives you an instant you can spam while moving if you have to move from point to point.
That's true.
Well, once every 8 seconds or so.
I'm
yeah.
I'm assuming for all the other specs, it's not gonna have like 2 charges. It'd probably just be like a probably be a completely
Yeah,
different
I
spell.
believe rank 2 or rank 3.
Yeah.
Well, I'm assuming it's like the old one too, like on.
Yeah, it's probably gonna be on GCD.
Yeah.
It's the level 1 fire blast that they give you, probably.
Well,
It's still something.
it is off GCD when you get it as a
Chen
mage at
Yang.
level, I don't know, 3 or 4.
That means
But
Yeah,
I
you can
imagine
weave it
it's
into
off
everything.
GCD.
I imagine they make it not as default
Yeah.
in Shadowlands, but we'll see. But maybe
Otherwise,
it's
you're just
they're
gonna
going back to it being on
backroid to
global.
Frostbolt or something.
It's still just like some neat thing to have. You'll use it every now and then. I mean, I don't know. I think that having sort of cross like element things available to you does a lot to just help solidify the class as a whole instead of like the stratification of specs that we've had recently, even if you don't use everything all the time.
Yeah, I think there's something to be said, even if you cast it, you know, like once or twice a night kind of thing. It's something to be said about just having the option.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The main downside is that we'll have people coming to the Discord and asking where in their rotation they use Fire Blast.
Yeah. Or like, when do I cast Frostbolt? You know, that's another one too. Like, think about in BOD, right, on Stormwall Blockade. using Frostbolt on the ad would be insane, because then I could play Fire instead of being relegated to Frost on that fight.
Just flame strike at forehead.
Yeah.
Like I see the utility in Frostbolt and Arcane Explosion, but Fire Blast kind of seemed odd to me. Especially as I play predominantly Frost, right? So I have Ice Lance as my go-to spam ability.
Yeah, but it has a travel time.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
Yeah. You can instant tag mobs now, man.
That's true.
Yeah, I think for the cross-spec fillers, we're not going to see a lot of huge impactful changes, but I think there are some niches like this where it becomes relevant, either Fire Blast being an instant, like as said, that Arcane can actually use on the move, or Frostbolt being available to Fire Mage if there's a particular ad that you need to slow, or PvP scenarios where you can now have baiting out interrupts for like the wrong spell school or something like that.
Even stuff like being spell locked, like you still have something to cast then instead of like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
I got polymorph left. That's it.
And it is really cool to think about. There's situations where like the spell lock thing. But I mean, just in general, like these very random use cases, they don't have very big impact at all on anything else. It's very smart that they're doing it because they don't really have to change tuning around this stuff, right? Like this is just like added flavor where they can call it a win. And they don't really have to put much thought into it. I think it's really smart that they're doing these.
Yeah, I think it's a freebie for them because it's just a change that, like Frosted said, reduces the kind of stratified specs that we have now, where everybody is locked into their own damage and spell school, and just makes it feel like an overall mage again, where they don't have to finely tune and balance all these things individually. It's just stuff that's there.
How do you guys feel about focus magic?
It depends where it goes on the talent.
Yeah.
Nope.
Yeah.
It's going in the mirror.
Someone just goes, nope.
It makes it dead to me. Yeah.
It's dead. It's dead.
Like unless they just kill Encanters and Rune at the same time, it's dead.
Dead. Like, what's gonna compete with Rune of Power and Encounter Slow? That's the whole reason Mirror Image is dead right now, right? Is because it's up against these monsters.
Yep.
And it's like, even if you gave the tuning needed, like half of it is split to someone else. So anyone who's playing selfishly is not going to take it, and anyone who's playing, at a raid level is more likely than not going to take the extra damage over the extra crit.
Yeah, they've done it so many times before with spells that like buff another person, and they're always dead talent. So I don't know why they tried it again.
Yeah, if they're
even if it's strong, players don't want to give their power to someone else.
Yeah, like this is a cool thing to add as a baseline thing. It makes no. As soon as I read this and said new talent, I was like, why are they doing that? Like this doesn't even make sense at all. Like why would it ever be a talent?
Because there's a spot where Mirror Images goes.
Yeah, because they got rid of Mirror Images.
Yeah, it's just so stupid, man. I can't even. God, it's so stupid.
It's actually rather difficult to put something in that slot versus Encounter's Flow and Rune of Power too, because you need something that doesn't fall into the mirror image single target niche. So it has to be something that's like a global damage buff or a stat buff.
Well,
and
I miss Encounter's Ward. That was really cool, even though that was like a really fucking memey ability back in Mists of Pandaria. It still was like it still had its uses. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that was a fun one. I'll give it that.
It was pretty dead though, wasn't it? I mean,
it
I feel
was.
like I used it on like 2 fights in Siege, but I don't remember what fight.
So it was really good when you could use it, and also you used a Witch Brew, the Witch Hazel, to like damage yourself pre-pull so that you could have it on the pull. Very useful ability if you have that. But yeah, I mean it was like super hackish, like barely thought out. Blizzard obviously just kind of like threw it together, but at least they got more play than Mirror Images. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. It's just, I mean, it's kind of what Kuni said. It'd be hard to find something. So, like to me, it's very weird to create a talent whose explicit purpose is like this is going to be niche, right? So, like Encanter's Ward is probably something you could throw in there, but if your whole starting point is, oh, this is going to be used in 2 fights the entire expansion, it's like, all right, well, why is this a talent then?
Bring back Prismatic Crystal and put it on that row.
No.
Give me PC.
I'm down.
I imagine they could put like Lucid Dreams on there and just have it change based on your spec.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, that could work.
Well, that would work because I was going to say put Overpowered for Arcane on the Rune of Power row and just
put
fix
Overpowered
that problem.
in the fucking bin.
You put overpowered on that
Just
row, that
call
just
it a
kills
day.
the other talents.
The talent doesn't work. Just stop trying.
Look, man, they're gonna this expansion. This is it. They finally like. Do
No,
you guys
no, it
realize
isn't it.
how many expansions they've gone without like a major revision to Arcane? The fact that they're actually saying to themselves like, maybe this is kind of fucked up, and are putting work into it. It's now or never, man. If
I
it's any
thought, but
expansion,
I
it's
thought
gonna
that
be
was
this one.
supposed to be now. That well, I was under the impression and was led to believe that BFA was that expansion.
Oh,
Yeah.
You were lied to.
I think
See,
that's
I know,
yeah.
I
You
was lied to. I'm demonstrating we were fucking lied
yeah
to.
yeah. You fell for the marketing
Oh.
thing, and it's happening again. We're falling for it again. It's fine. Okay. Well, the other thing is that Arcane is also having Savant apply to Arcane Explosion and to Arcane Missiles. Now, I know the devil's in the details for Arcane because obviously that spec lives and dies by its coefficients, and how it ends up being used can swing wildly. Just look at Emerald Nightmare. But I do think that that's a step in the right direction to make, I guess, Arcane less of a terrible spec.
Yeah, mastery. The lack of mastery interactions for arcane spells has been a confusing issue,
Yeah.
to say it mildly. It's had no interaction with like your AOE and things like that, which really kills the value of the stat overall. So making it just apply baseline to everything, I think, is a smart move.
I'm actually surprised that they never did, considering they put Frozen Orb on Frost Mastery.
Doesn't it affect Barrage?
Mhm.
Barrage and
It
Arcane
affects-
Blast currently.
Yes,
affects
with
Barrage and
50%
Blast right now, yeah.
effectiveness.
Yeah, so that's your AOE interaction at least.
Yeah, I think the touch change and the mastery change are good, but I
Yeah.
don't think Enlightened is a smart choice at all. Because
Touch of the Magi, that's a really sensible change that
Yeah, it really
I've been
is.
asking
Think so?
for a minute.
Is it?
I think if they make that usable in such a way that it affects gameplay changes, because I think that's what everybody was hoping that would do, and what, like, when you first interact with that ability and you read about it, that's what you think the effect on gameplay is going to be, where it's like, hey, do I bank my arcane missiles charges for touch the magi so it blows up bigger? It's like, no, you don't do any of that shit. It has no gameplay changes right now. So
Yeah.
just pray that it gets applied, and pray that it gets applied like long enough for the debuff to last long enough for you to do some damage to it. And it's just like this kind of background thing that's happening in your class. If they turn it into a thing where you have active decision making and rotational changes, I think that's really, really good.
Would you
They-
want it to be single target or AoE? And if you want it to be single target, why does Arcane need another stacked single target cooldown that's just going to be dumped on top of Arcane Power and Rune?
I think this needs to be AoE.
Yeah, okay. I could see your
Yeah, if it's
perspective.
AoE, I could see this working.
Yeah, if it's like what's that Warlock thing that they place down and they
well, it
like,
is
do
AoE, isn't it?
damage to it, and do AoE
That
shit.
no longer exists, I think.
Well, what was that?
That was
thing?
last expansion.
Soul
their little
something.
totem thing. Yeah, I don't remember.
Whatever the hell it was called. I'm envisioning some kind of.
Yeah,
I
I know what you're talking about. I don't remember the name either. Well, so I mean, on Touch of the Magi, like on that point, I think that anything where they're taking something that's completely RNG and making you have a button to press it to make it activate is good, right? Like, cause obviously they can tune it behind the scenes, they can make it work. But just like not having to like get mad every pull because you don't proc your Touch of the Magi is a good thing. I feel like.
Yeah, that in itself,
I
I think is
agree.
a good change, because they've turned that into active decisions that the player has to make. Like, so already we have more factors to consider about, when to use Touch of the Magi. Obviously, if it's just a single target thing, you're just going to press it like on cooldown basically, or maybe
Yeah,
before AP or
that's
something.
the worry.
I do think
Because
they're getting like in a risky spot with having like 40 global set up for their burst again.
yeah,
Well,
that's what I wanted to mention. Is basically it's gonna be Rune of Power, Arcane Power, Touch of the Magi, then you can start doing damage, and your Arcane Power is gonna have like 4 seconds left.
yeah, they have the same thing right now with like Lucid and all that. They have to precast too, and it just feels terrible to have like 10 dead globals while you prep up, which I think they need to be very
Yeah.
careful of going into Shadowlands. But we
Yeah,
shall
I
see.
always see it like the Millhouse Mana Storm fight in what was it, Arcatraz? TPC?
Yeah, or he
Spend,
like
20
prepares.
minutes ramping up before you start casting.
Yeah.
Very on brand.
That's a good point, actually, about the setup time. That's gonna hurt particularly if this is off GCD, it's pretty. I don't think it's an issue, but
I mean,
I
speaking
don't
of
think
sep
there's any
time,
way it is. But
yeah, speaking of sep time, I mean, we do that like 20 seconds out right now. Just saying, like it's this is probably peak degeneracy when it comes to like having to like set up.
we do, but not really. Like we channel font ahead of time, but when we actually go to actually hit combust, like we just hit combust. You know?
Yeah.
We drop rune and
I
we
mean,
fucking
you
start
set up
pumping.
you set up lucid, you set up rune, meteor.
Yeah, but you're still I don't know. You're still casting. This is
Yeah.
literally going to be fucking 5 global cooldown instant
That
cast
do nothing.
spells that
Yeah,
do
yeah.
nothing, and then you just start spamming Arcane.
it's going to be interesting even for AOE scenarios. If this turns into a situation where a lot of targets are coming, so you put a Touch of the Magi in the main target. Now, what do you do at that point? Is it more beneficial for you to be spamming Arcane Explosion, or should you be spamming Arcane Blast into the main target with Touch of the Magi on it?
Hey, you know,
maybe
decisions like this are good because then you have to think about
These are the
it.
questions that I want to be asking. but-
Exactly.
Especially now that clear casting has 2 stacks.
Well,
Yeah.
it reads as a damage split in the notes, so I don't know that it really does much in AoE, but we'll see.
Yeah, I mean we don't know what it's gonna do, but
Yeah.
hopefully
The notes,
it's not.
as ever, are vague and unhelpful. But
Yeah.
But at least in
I
2
mean,
targets, it would be better than single target.
Mhm.
At least that's my interpretation.
It definitely helps fill that weird gap where you want to be 1 or 3 targets, and 2 is the worst thing ever.
True. Yeah. True.
But yeah, Arcane definitely seems very much in the air, but I am happy to see what they're putting down on paper. I think of all the 3 specs that they like gave us a primer on, I'm the most hopeful for Arcane. But let's talk about yeah, maybe. Let's talk.
Enlightened being another threshold thing, just literally being equipoise, that gives me some pause because I have a feeling we're gonna end up some equipause, yes.
Well, what
I feel like we're gonna find out that the damage buff is just too good and then just stay above the threshold.
yeah, it's the same issue they always have. It's either not worth playing around or it's only worth playing around.
They need to literally flip it. They need it so that you want to be low, but then on the pull you're going to be like, how do I get to low mana on the pull? You know, it's like they've caused like such a problem for themselves with this shit.
They need to stop trying to make mana like something you manage and then adding shit like that makes you have 10% of it to play with.
Yeah, I think it's almost not worth working around because there's pros and cons. There's pros and cons to like the threshold approach, but even if you think back to stuff like the WAD Mastery, which is like this sliding damage buff scale, we still had basically a fixed mana point that you wanted to stay above. So even when it wasn't a fixed threshold, it was a fixed threshold just inherently based off like your mana regen and other factors. Like the goal there was just to not mana cap and waste mana, like, and that was your threshold, and that was born just out of how the spec functions rotationally. Like adding another threshold that's like hard into the game, I feel like it just you end up at the same point.
Yeah, just get rid of all that stuff and let mana just equal damage. Like there's no need to add like weird requirements to certain mana thresholds. Just literally let it be a resource. I don't get why they can't just let mana be what it is.
Yeah, I mean it's hard to say without seeing their like redesign, but like their intent of always wanting mana to be this spender that Arcane has, and then saying no, you get to play with 3% of it is just never gonna work. So stop trying.
Well, the hopeful thing is that it says it's a new talent, so that means we might not use it. I mean, there's like a pretty strong chance we just never use this talent. So if we look at other talents.
If it's replacing Time Anomaly, nope, you'll take Overpowered.
Yeah, if that's in the Overpowered row, that's
replacing Touch of the Magi.
That's what I'm saying.
Touch of the Magi is becoming baseline.
Probably.
Yeah, that's true. It's probably going on that row.
But like, is that any better that there's this talent that either is only worth taking or is never worth taking? Like,
no, because that's like the problem with the current talent tree for Arcane, right? Is like every row is okay. You got this one talent that you choose, and then the other ones are dead, unless you're in an AOE situation or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, at least compared to Equipose, this also works on your AoE damage, so I guess that's an improvement.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see, right? We'll be able to like contextualize those changes better once we know how the rotation actually functions.
Yeah. I mean, even numbers, like maybe with this increased mana regen, maybe you can't even really like stay below that threshold. Who knows? Like,
yeah.
Yeah,
that's true.
it's very much up in the air. I wanted to move on to talking about fire again. So we already discussed how we feel about Fire Blast and how that affects Ignite. But I thought this was interesting that it says up to 8 targets. So it looks like they're wanting to cap this off, kind of like what they did to MM. Instead of just saying it spreads to all targets, right? I thought that was pretty interesting. Also, they talk about like Blast Wave kindling. I think there's some interesting stuff here, but it more so than anything, I think it kind of like makes me feel uneasy because I know they're gonna have to make some big changes to fire for this to work.
I'd like to just add a note about the spread change. Like if they made it spread to every target, there would be no points to casting Flamestrike ever. You would just want to spread Ignite from a main target to every target. That's probably the reason.
Oh, okay.
I'm really hesitant about the Blazing Barrier change too. Like, I think obviously increasing the stuff like the slow duration and that stuff that Blast Wave is having this utility is good, but increasing the damage is sketchy because it's on a row that is based around our defensives and our utility. And if you buff up its damage to the point that we actually use it for that, it doesn't fit on the row. So why are they touching the damage?
It's the
It shouldn't have
shimmer
damage tied to
row.
it at all. Yeah. And
Yeah.
when you blink, you get Blazing Barrier row. So like it's supposed to be this utility spell, but if you buff it up to be a damage spell, question mark.
Then we just lose Shimmer in that case, right? Like we just don't have that
Yeah,
ability
Yep.
anymore. Yeah,
But
it's like
probably the
they
goal.
it's like they want you to suffer. Yeah. So okay, well, like here's the thing I don't understand. I don't understand why they have talents that are dead the whole expansion that they never touch throughout the expansion. Like, and then it for some reason it takes like a new expansion to like even look at it. Like, obviously Blast Wave is like a very niche thing. Like increasing the damage on it though, like you're just making it like you said, you're just taking away a different ability from us, right? Like if they make the damage so good it's actually worth taking, you just always take it. You're not really giving us a choice, you're just changing the better choice.
It's either that or it's still dead, and it's probably still dead realistically.
I mean, the problem is Shimmer is just too damn good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there's that, but like, I don't know. It's a utility row. Make it utility. Don't tie it to damage.
If you
Like,
turn a utility spell into anything that does any kind of worthwhile damage, that becomes the dominant talent for that row. Except
Yeah.
in like very specific cases where like you would need 2 blinks for something or to handle
Well-
some mechanic or do something.
and if you have damage tied to utility, it's no longer a utility spell. It's just a damage ability.
I
Yeah,
think
like
Yeah.
counterspelling for lucid dreams.
Yep. Or
Yeah,
shimmering for
Or
lucid
Or
dreams.
presence of mind.
I think it's also like the way they wording that change, like they want to promote different play styles. Is Blast Wave a different play style? Like
Yeah, if you take it, you're playing wrong.
Yeah, maybe it'll be like a
That's your
5-second
style.
cooldown. I
The
mean, I
style
don't
of
know.
play is bad.
is
If
it?
the damage is decent enough, you might see some play in Mythic Plus, but
Yeah, but that's not a. The only way that play style is different is like you're now in.
Yeah, touch of karma. That's a good point. Yeah.
yeah.
I don't.
Yeah, like, dude, imagine being the person whose job it was to write this note, and then they thought, you know, what would really sell this right now is if we just say, yeah, we're just gonna minorly buff Blast Wave. That's like a keynote on the expansion. Like, yep, minorly buffing Blast Wave. Fuck yeah, let's put it on paper, sell it, ship it.
I feel bad for the guy who has like in Jira, he has the ticket assigned to him that just says like improve Blast Wave with no acceptance criteria or any kind of
Oh,
like
God.
helpful hints. How do you figure out how to do that and then avoid all these problems that we're talking about?
Yeah, you
Like,
can't.
this-
You make it a core fire ability.
Yep, it should be baseline.
Get it off that row. Put something else in that row.
Well, then they have to put something else in that row, Frosted, and they don't like doing that.
I mean,
Delete
They
talents.
could do something with Blast Wave that makes it interesting, at least in say PvP. Like it was like if they made it into a huge knockback, like Thunderstorm, that could be fun. But
Yeah,
if they're just gonna buff it to the point where you want to use it in your DPS rotation, that just sounds awful.
Yeah, but even then, like Thunderstorm doesn't really do damage, you know? Like it's a utility spell.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but,
but-
then
but, like-
why even mention the damage?
Exactly. Like why is it the damage it
And-
does now is too much. Why are they buffing its
They
damage?
don't even mention. Damage.
For all we
They
know, it could-
specifically mention the slow.
Yeah, for all we know, this could be like a 1% damage increase, right? Like they just said it does more damage. Okay, well, like, what do you mean? But yeah, the slow duration. Okay, cool. what
there
else?
Are a lot of ways to get around slows.
Yeah, there's like a billion ways to get
No one
around
should-
slow.
No one gets slowed
Almost
anymore, dude.
everything's immune to it anyway.
Yeah,
Rise and
everything's immune to
cross
slow.
mage.
All melee can always be on you the whole time. There's nothing you can do about it. Like, there's, I don't know. And then, so I'm thinking, okay, well, they have to be going for maybe the PvP angle with this, right? Like, that's the only thing I can really think of, because, like, Blast Wave used to be, like, the OG PvP move. But it's like, well, are you really going to get rid of Shimmer in PvP? Like, honestly, think about that for a second. Like, you really want to get rid of Shimmer? Like,
Well, now
it's like
you
the
have
most
Alter Time.
overpowered. Yeah.
Why didn't they touch the knockback distance? Because like it's like
Yeah.
2 yards right now or something.
Yeah,
it might
it's-
as well not
it's garbage.
exist. Yeah.
It's just like another interrupt. That's all it really is.
To be fair, for Arcane, the talent was like Mana Shield, and that was used in PvP until they nerfed it. So they can make that work if they make the talent interesting or powerful enough.
Yeah, I mean, they got to make it pretty powerful, I think.
Well,
But
Mana
point
Shield's
is-
where our blazing barrier thing is, right? The blink gets
Yeah.
a barrier. Yeah.
I'm just
They got
afraid
much more
of
for that.
the downstream consequences of it, because yeah, like you said, I just feel like if they turn up the knob just a little bit too high, then we just won't have Shimmer anymore, and that's gonna be really sad for rating. And also, we'll have to be in melee too, to use the ability. So it's like, oh man.
Yikes. Yikes.
I'll just go Night Fae. You'll have to be melee anyway.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Okay, so next talent, cooldown reduction provided by kindling is increased. Oh man. All right, so they're making kindling better. Now the question I have for you guys, because I actually don't know the answer to this, how much better would kindling have to be for us to actually use it like in main raid? Because everything stacks with the 2-minute mark, so like how crazy would that talent actually have to be for it to be the best?
Depends on what
Yeah.
trinket you got.
Keep in
feel
mind
like
we're
it's not
losing
a
a lot of
lot.
those 2 minutes
Yeah,
though. Like
We're losing
Yeah.
a lot of the 2 minutes.
Yeah,
like,
I
tool
know. I get
Like,
that.
on the
I get
same
that.
row is Pyroclasm, and they said they're buffing Pyroclasm.
yeah.
So like,
Oh, which is already
whole
the
thing is, yeah, like the whole or meteor, right? Like the whole way the row works is not, hey, let's just buff kindling until kindling is good, and then also buff Pyroclasm until Pyroclasm's good. Like what?
Yeah.
Are you trying
I
Honestly-
think kindling right now, I think, is a victim of circumstance where it just doesn't have scenarios where it can function effectively. So it's not. I don't know if it's a simple tuning knob that just makes that better than the other things, especially when you're buffing Pyroclasm at the same time.
Yeah,
Well-
you drop like essences and it's not really in a horrible spot, but then they made an entire expansion of like every single boss fight has 2-minute burst phases, and every trinket in the entire expansion is 2-minute cooldown, and
all the whirly doos and gadgets and doodads are all 2 minutes. Like the bracers, yeah, it's all 2 minutes.
Yeah, lots of syncing.
Yeah, I imagine if they made it like 2-second reduction per create, it's probably gonna be competitive with the other talents.
well, so,
Assuming,
like-
you don't have like 2-minute trinkets and other shit.
So like you were mentioning, right? Like without essences it's strong. Well, I don't know if you've played it, but like Whirlwind Kindling is like quite strong too as well. Especially on fights where there's AoE that happens every minute or so. And you kind of run into this issue where depending on your haste, like if you're outside of Lust, you actually won't have your combustion up every minute. It'll be like slightly more than a minute. So I think that this is cool in a way because it kind of opens the door for that. But yeah, as the game works right now, it's kind of a non-factor. There's too many things that are stacked that make 2 minutes way too overpowered, so that you want everything to be up every 2 minutes. But I am hopeful for this. I feel like there's some hope here. I just really wish they would instead say like that Flame Strike and Scorch also affect it in some way. Like that would actually make me so much more happy about this.
Yeah.
Because it's always the awkward thing with kindling is like okay, cool, kindling's great, but then it just like fights against another talent that you have. Like Searing Touch just doesn't help it hurts it. And then if you're ever AoEing, you just get no benefit from it if you're ever Flame Striking.
Yeah, those would be like that would be a good way to make it easier to slot into other talent builds, for sure, for different situations.
Yeah.
I'm a little shocked they didn't mention the Searing Touch row at all, but they went and talked about this row instead.
I mean,
I'm shocked that this row is. I mean, think about what they're saying in this. This is
Nothing.
just saying tuning. This is literally
Yeah, this is tuning.
about
Yeah.
tuning. They're literally saying we are going to buff kindling. We are
These
going
aren't
to
changes.
buff Pyroclasm.
They're
Like, those
changing
are-
their
Yeah.
Last wave.
That's what I was poking fun at earlier. Like, imagine being the guy whose job it is to hype people up for the next expansion, and your thing that you come to the table with, You slam it on the table. Hey guys, we're gonna tune this class a little bit. You know, some of those talents. Yeah, we're gonna tune them just a little bit.
We're gonna do
All
some
right.
number changes, boys.
Remember
It's
when
like
we
a-
used to do this in the patches? Remember when we used to do this like multiple times in one patch? Now it's like once a patch. Now they're turning it into a marketed thing for an expansion. This is like the keynote thing for Shadowlands. We're gonna tune your class. Whoa, dude.
They're touching more than the aura, dude. Come on.
I mean, it
Yeah,
could be
it's-
worse. It could be
that's big.
Warriors. Warriors got a new talent that is exactly the same as one that's on
Yeah,
live.
but like to be fair, I'm sure half these classes are getting some numeric changes. They could have just plopped that in on every single class image they did for mage. Like,
Yeah.
cool, ooh, your cleave does 2% more damage now. Like, congrats, now warrior has the exact same notes fire has.
It's
Wow.
very. Yeah, it's I don't know. I think that the things you'll end up seeing are just fire is exactly the same as it is right now, except for the new spread rotation, or the new spreading. So that's what everyone's going to be talking about. These other notes about like blast wave and kindling and pyroclasm are not going to change.
They're just fluff. They're just wanting to add word count, basically.
Well, part of it is that fire plays very well mechanically.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
there's not
definitely
much to
does.
change there.
Yeah, like this
I
reads like
agree.
exactly what we were telling them. Like, we think the spec works fine except for Ignite, so please fix Ignite. And so that's what their notes are: is we fixed Ignite, guys. But even if they didn't,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then pad it with just fluff. So
Yeah.
Yeah, from the notes, it currently looks like Arcane is getting at least 3 changes. Fire is getting exactly 4 changes, and Frost is getting exactly 1 change. It just ran out of stuff, so that's what's in the notes.
it could be that's all that's ready to post.
Yeah. We'll see what they end up coming out with, right? I mean, the alpha starts pretty soon, right?
I think it's this week.
End of
I
week,
would-
yeah.
next week, I think.
Yeah, my
It's supposed to be
overall
this week, but I'd guess at Wednesday because they do every PTR thing on Wednesday. But we'll see.
Yeah, my overall impression of this is that most of the changes we're going to see in the expansion are going to be tied to the new factions. It seems like they're kind of banking on those being like the big thing that draw people in. So I feel like all this other stuff that they're adding is just like because they kind of have to. They have to give us like some sort of class update, so they're kind of just giving us like this like tuning in a nutshell, basically.
Yeah.
I kind of hope that's not the case because it feels like they were finally getting the impression that the classes are the important part of the game, and these are the things that need some kind of attention. If
Yeah, I mean, like
all
it's
of the design work is going to go into covenants, that just feels like the same systems-based approach that they've been trying for 2 expansions now. That hasn't been
Well,
working.
it's the same exact problem we had in Wrath with vehicles, where like they just neglected the actual characters because they're like, okay, we'll just give you a vehicle in half the fights, and then you never actually do anything with your class. And it's the same thing where you're no longer playing the class, you're playing the Covenant, or currently you're playing the Corruption.
Yeah.
I don't know. Your class doesn't matter because Tentacle Boy does the same thing for everyone, you know?
Well, it does matter because you need to get extreme amounts of haste, right? Like the classes that have the ability to increase their haste, just like so much of their damage ends up being corruption. It's like honestly, it feels
Yeah,
like a
and
hack. Like especially demon hunters right now. I mean, like infinite stars with them is just so funny.
Yeah, I recognize I'm saying that as like one of the few specs that actually is like still actually playing our class, but like everyone else is like, how can I buff my corruption? Cool. Cool. Proc the RPPM thing more. Do more damage. Fun game.
Yeah. How do you guys feel about other people getting blink?
I'm fine with it. I'm assuming it works more like the Void Elf one anyways, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
I think it would go a long way to reducing server lag because then those people can disconnect when they blink too, and there'll just be less people. So I look forward to just overall reduced concurrent player count, and then maybe I won't lag when I'm doing world quests.
I'm not very okay with it, honestly. I've always thought that like some of the really defining spells for mage are Ice Block and Blink.
And Polymorph.
And I mean, yeah, Polymorph is there too. And it's very weird to me that the initial way that they sold the covenants was what, like all 4 of them had a transport thing, and now 2 of them do. But the ones that don't, it's like they don't seem anywhere near as good as the blink-like effects. I don't know.
Are these
It seems
usable
cheap.
in instances? I don't remember.
I would hope so.
Oh my god! If they're not, then why are they even talking about them?
Well, like the DPS one is, I know, but like I wasn't aware if the movement ones were.
I think
Oh
at
my God.
BlizzCon they originally like put them as open world things, but I get the impression that they're meant more to act sort of like the obelisks do currently in dungeons,
Yeah,
where like
that
you
was
actually
my
get,
impression as well.
yeah, where you get to pick the pathing a bit better because you actually have these tools without, say, bringing a warlock to every key or bringing
Yeah.
a rogue to every key.
It's hard to say though, because if you read the update they did on the Kyrian faction today, the summon steward button is supposed to bring like a combat ally like in the world, like they've done for the last 2 expansions in WoD and Legion. So if it's tied to that, then they may not be doing them in instance.
Yeah.
Well, I sort of assumed he'd be like the guy in Spires of Iraq, where he like came and he had a vendor and he'd have like invis pods or something, so that you have that movement kind of stuff that the other ones do. But I don't know.
Maybe.
I,
But yeah, I
we'll see.
assumed just like you did that it's basically gonna be a flavorful way of doing skips in dungeons. But now I'm not so sure.
Yeah, I think there's been like a great reception to stuff like the obelisk, where like people can actually pick their path through a little bit better.
hmm
And I assumed that that was sort of what they were aiming for with these, but they
Or
could just be open
maybe-
world stuff. I don't know.
Or just maybe they could actually fix the dungeons, so that you don't have to. You don't have to. If you just don't have any skips, you will always clear 120%. Maybe that's worth fixing.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely something to be said about those instances like KR, where like just clearing air quotes normally gets you way over. But I mean, I think more for stuff like Ivashara, where like you have this big open space and you can actually move around, that these are more for, that you can choose to go this way or that way instead of.
I
KR
was
in general
really
is just a big issue. I don't know.
I was really hoping that one of these signature abilities would be a drop a summon stone, because I'm so damn tired of dealing with Warlocks, man. Give us back AoE summon.
That would have been nice.
I don't get why half group will travel was removed, to be completely honest with you.
It ruined the open feeling of the world.
Yeah.
I mean, so make it usable in instances.
If they
Wow.
had kept it, Warlocks would have been unusable in 7.0.
I mean, they still have their gateway. The gateway's really the reason you bring Warlocks. That and the Healthstones. Like, the whole summoning thing is like, why do you have to make us suffer, dude? I swear Warlocks are the worst when it comes to dropping the stone. You're always waiting on the guy. You're like, / begging him, and he's not doing it. You need one in every raid group. It's like such a hassle.
It literally makes swapping people in and out as you run through the instance impossible if you don't have one. You add 10 minutes of delay every time you make a swap. Like, it's not fun. It's not engaging. It just means you carry your token Warlock because they can bring other people into the raid. Granted, I know Warlocks are normally busted, so you're bringing them anyways, but like, in the scenario where you aren't. I also don't get why like the instant summoning stones out front aren't just on the whole group. What would that fuck up? Why do I gotta click them all one at a time? I don't know.
I think that's part of like the whole. They want classes to bring something unique, right? And that's one of the things Warlocks bring.
Yeah, but they bring like 5 things.
Yeah, exactly. They've got their gateways, they've got their Healthstones, they've got insane different specs that do very niche things, and they're all like the best at their niche, right? Like extreme,
So
like single target in demo, extreme 2-target cleave with destruction. Whatever the fuck AF does nowadays, I don't even know what it does, to be honest with you.
Let's remove all of that shit.
I think that's such a cop-out answer,
They can
though.
keep summoning.
Like, when we're talking raid utility, we should be talking things that affect the fight, like the Hellstones, the gateway, stuff they use during the fight. They shouldn't be things that just, oh, you bring a Warlock because it makes it easier to bring someone in after a boss.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the summon stone as utility is really lame. For sure.
I don't think raid utility should be tied to like logistics. It's like if a class brought RC loot cancel with them or something. It's like it just makes the raid easier for you. It's a good selling point, but it's just like a weird, almost not game related thing. I mean, it's obviously.
I mean, mages kind of have it with food, right? It's just that food's irrelevant now. Like our thing that we got is like no one wants it except for like healers and dungeons. That's it.
Are mages getting their like accounting book so that you can't do like gold boost without a mage? Like, I don't. It's just, it doesn't make any sense. It honestly doesn't.
And now they're getting more utility. They're getting a whole bunch of their curses back.
Oh, are they?
Yeah, go check out the post. They're getting like 4 curses back. I think one of them's damage, but they're getting Curse of Tongues back.
Well, thank God.
Yeah, and we have decurse.
Decurse that.
More damage.
Yeah, I don't know. There's also the other thing where it's like, what if your signature ability is so insane that you have to pick that, covenant for that signature ability, right? Kind of, I don't know. It's weird to me that they're adding like utility and damage, but they're both part of the same thing, and it's like you're tied to that specification for both at the same time.
Yeah,
We're
it's
also missing.
Go ahead.
We're also missing the soulbind talent trees. We don't know like what covenant is going to have
The
what
whole
basically.
progression system.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Do they
that's true.
know?
probably not.
Do they know? Probably not. I mean, there's also like tuning. What if Sims come out first week? Fucking Venethir for some reason is the god, right? 10% above everything else. Everyone goes to Venethir, and then Blizzard just kneecaps it, buffs the Necrolord. Now everyone's like, all right, well, what do we do in this situation?
That's first patch Legion.
Yeah. Literally,
That's
it's
what I'm
Legion
saying,
all
that's-
over again. Yeah, I
It's
made
gonna
the
be
tweet.
every patch Shadowland.
I swear, like every person I follow on
Really?
Twitter that talks WoW stuff talked about this last night, and I did too. It's like they're really posturing, and they did this at BlizzCon too. They're really posturing to say that we're gonna make you suffer if you want to change what covenant you have, right? Like they made it a point to like every time they mention covenants, they said, and you would be able to change it if you need to, but you're gonna have to do this, that, and the other, or they just said like, but it's gonna be hard.
Right.
Basically, they're positioning themselves to say you are going to have to suffer if you want to change what covenant you're a part of. But the problem is that this game is tuned like crazy, especially like whenever it's crunch time. They just tune things willy nilly, and like they are gonna change what's best. It's gonna happen, like guarantee it.
Yep.
And I think there's something to be said, like, don't make it as easy to swap as, say, a talent, like you pop a tome down and, and don't just make it clunky, like, you have to go to the person or something, because you'll just pour it out and then pour it back. There's something to said of having some short cooldown on that. Like, you actually pick and you don't just swap for every fight. But making it so you have to regrind the rep is just going to be...
My interpretation is they're gonna make it kind of like the Azerite trait stuff, where it's like a cost to you with some sort of currency that goes up exponentially. That was my impression, but that's completely based on just my own impression of it. But I mean, like, regardless, though, why do they have to make these things hard in the first place? Like, it's such an arbitrary thing to say that these talents that you have, because they are talents, right? Let's not kid ourselves. These are just talents. These ones are special, and you're gonna hate life if you have to change them. Like, why? Why can't you just let us choose this stuff? What's gonna end up happening is all the people in the top guilds are gonna have to level 4 characters of the same class. That's a TLDR. I'm gonna have 4 mages.
I think this is a continuation of the kind of systems-based design that they are still adhering to for some reason for the past couple expansions, where it's, it feels like Azerite Armor 2.0, where they kept stressing like how difficult it's going to be to like change your traits, and like if you don't like your trait, just get an exact copy of that item for your other spec or for your other content that you're playing when. And I think it's even worse in this case. Like the literal name of the whole system is Covenant. Like that implies like a promise.
Yeah.
Like the language of the system itself that it's based around is frightening. So I think it's going to be pretty gnarly. I think it'll be worse than just some kind of currency.
Yeah, I'm expecting it to be. I mean, Covenant is like you said, that's a really good point. Like, Covenant's a very strong word. Like, whenever I think of Covenants, I think of like Dark Souls and how it's like the other Covenants can like literally you can ruin your relationships with them if you change what you are. And like, to me, this kind of comes across like something like a faction almost. It's like this is serious business here, like Aldor and Scryer kind of situation, right? Which should be absolutely a nightmare. Like, could you imagine if in World of Warcraft nowadays they had these act as like Aldor and Scryer, that same system?
Yeah, that's what I'm almost expecting it to feel more like, is those TBC kind
Dark
of
Souls 1
factions that you were choosing.
And like we're a pure class, so like we're just picking.
Dark Souls 1 is not easy to change. If you need to get ranked 3 again, it's not easy.
Like, okay, cool, you play Resto and Raid and you tank keys, like there's almost zero chance you want the same covenant for both, but congratulations, you're picking one.
Yeah, them saying that they want it to be like Aldor and Scryer is like the most terrifying thing that they could say. And honestly, I mean, like, this might sound like an overreaction, but at BlizzCon, that kind of soured my BlizzCon experience hearing that. Because all I could think about was instantly I just thought of like, okay, well, I'm going to just have to spend 4 times the amount of time grinding next expansion.
Yeah. You want it to be like Aldor and Scryer, that make it like that. They had some starter gear, but overall, they were pretty fucking worthless.
Yeah, but these
Tie
aren't
your-
worthless
tie-
though.
I know, that's what I'm saying. Tie your cosmetics to them, whatever. Like,
Yeah.
cool. You pick the Skelly.
Hey, Shauna, thank you for the subscription.
That is a meaningful choice.
Welcome back to
still.
the oven.
But
Yeah,
it doesn't lock you out of playing a spec if you pick the wrong one.
I think it's nice to have these things in game where you have really impactful decisions that happen to that affect like your surroundings or affect your character. What it can't do is permanently cripple or buff your gameplay to such a point that you hate the choices that you had made so much that you wish that like you just had a copy of your character, like
Yeah.
you're saying, so that you could adjust to whatever tuning that they do.
Well, in addition to this, they're also adding in legendaries too, which they said are at least going to be like more deterministic. But even then, it's still like, well, if you're making forward the same character, you're going to have to grind out the legendaries on that character too. Plus, there's going to be some form of currency, right, for these covenants. I'm sure of it, just like AP, right? So like, and it's just not feasible to grind up that many of the same character. But we're gonna have to do it, even if it's not feasible. We're gonna have to do it.
They just need like a mercenary mode or something for them. Like you pick Skelly Bros, you know, you're locked in with Skelly Bros and you get your transmog. But like, say you want Radiant Spark for raid, you know, you just go, you merc mode as I don't even, are they Kyrian or whatever?
Yeah.
Has that? I don't know. Like, and then you get that for say the day, you know, 24-hour lockout or whatever.
I'm just
you get that
curious why these have to be
They don't even need to be locked, period. But if they're insisting on locking them, I don't.
Why do these have to be impactful endgame decisions? Can't this just be cool shit that just like what if you just permanently turn into a skeletal mage? I'd pick Necrolord for that. That sounds pretty
That's what I'm
dope.
saying.
Yeah.
What is wrong with just having meaningful, like, novelty choices?
Yeah, and they do have all the cosmetic and cool stuff tied to it too, right? But then they
Yeah.
also want to add this stuff. This is the problem right here. They need to get rid of this stuff and then leave it the way it is. Like, don't give us this weird, like, the damage ability, honestly, is the main thing. Like, the utility, okay, whatever. I can, like, take that one. It's fine. But get rid of this one and the soulbind.
Well, I
Like-
assume the soulbinds will probably just be mirrored realistically. They're gonna have enough trouble balancing the abilities, so I'm thinking they probably just like.
Yeah, they
Don't
might
like
do
they're gonna-
it.
If you think of this as purely like an RPG, if you have choosing these covenants, say that it completely blocks you out from storylines that are available to other covenants. That's like a huge deal for gameplay, at least for like leveling, or maybe if they add later campaigns for max level characters and things like that. But it's not something that I think you would lose sleep over as far as your day-to-day gameplay, going from like M+ to raiding to PvP and things like that. It would just be a defining part of your character that you would not hate,
Right.
Yeah.
once you're done with it.
Like I imagine they're gonna be like the continuation of the class hall stories and the worm story thing, where they
Sure.
all have their own little thing, which should be enough. Like you
Yeah,
want to see all
that's-
four, make 4 characters and play through all 4 stories. It shouldn't be some big, effect on endgame. in my
Yeah.
mind.
Instead, they took the effort that they're putting into these covenant abilities, and they were just more things for the class. Like
yeah.
Fire got something new, and Arcane got something new, and Frost got something new, or they like put more work into revitalizing dead talents and getting rid of dead talents, and like reinvigorating the talent tree so that it's more interesting, or like it feels significantly different than the last expansion, right? Like that to me would be more interesting than a damage ability from a covenant, right? Like
Yeah, it really makes no sense to me. Like, I think if anything, and it's very close to the system they have right now, they could just have a new talent row that has 4 choices, and each one is themed to be like a certain covenant. And then you have the ability to add in these new traits, and it also doesn't break the game for the majority of people, because it isn't just hardcore people that are going to be affected by this, right? Like, let's say you're playing World of Warcraft
it's
and you're
everyone.
enjoying your character and you just do dungeons every day with your friends, and then someone says, hey, do you want to join my raiding guild? And you say yes, and then you find out right before raid, oh, wait, the ability I have that's really good for dungeons, by the way, that's the worst one. I'm losing like 30% of my damage, and I'm going to have to go and regrind all the content, and then I'm never going to be able to do dungeons the way I did them before, because my guy's just going to be nerfed in dungeons for the rest of the time I play. Or like, oh, I play Frost all the time, but I want to play Fire today. Well, turns out I can't, because I'll have to redo my entire character, and I'll never be able to play Frost again if I do that. You know what I mean? Like,
Who does that?
don't get...
Yeah.
yeah, who does that, right?
Like when I'm speaking to these things, when I say they're issues, I'm never talking about you people.
Well, I bring it up
Okay,
because
like-
I get people telling
Like,
me
you're
this
gonna
all
have
the
issues
time.
regardless. You're gonna
Yeah,
no life out 40 characters. Like know, like,
Well,
you
this
are,
is
you know.
this is like me
But we're talking
preempting.
casual. It's an issue for casuals.
Yeah, no, this is like me preempting like a common criticism I get, which is, and everyone always tells us this. Oh, you're in limit, so the way you play the game is so much different that you can't even have a perspective for what it's like for the average player. And I think that that's just such bullshit. Like, I definitely understand where that's coming from because I do it just to a greater extent.
Yeah, like I mean, again, like I'm sort of your bog standard, you know, mid-level mythic player. Like I'm nothing special, and it's an issue. Period.
I mean,
Yeah.
shit, I'm down to heroic these days, and this is an issue for me.
Yeah,
Like, from an aesthetic standpoint, I want to go Night Fae. I want to go collect all the cute little forms from the travel thing, but like, look at shifting power.
and like yeah, even I don't know, even
What is the?
the mentality in those guilds even isn't that different. Like Kuni shows up, you know, wrong faction. People are still be like, "Why are you playing that faction?"
Yeah.
Like,
Oh,
It's
sorry
like-
guys, I gotta go change it. Be right back in like 12 hours. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, at least, right?
Like,
Yeah.
don't get me wrong. Is it going to be an issue for like the limits of the world too? Yeah, of course it is.
100%.
But everything is going to be an issue for you guys. Like,
Yeah,
you're gonna know, like,
everything-
something.
everything that's a problem for the average player is an issue for us. It's just magnified like at least 1,000 times.
I think it's okay for RPGs to have big decisions like this to be made, but I don't think it's okay for MMORPGs to be on a day-to-day scale affected by them. Like you
Yeah,
think about
this is
just your
something out of a
normal
single player
RPG.
Yeah.
If you're doing your normal decision making as far as like how the storyline is progressing or like what your character's in-game persona is like it's cool to have those kind of flavorful decisions. It's not cool to feel like you're holding your dungeon group back because you picked, the raiding covenant.
Yeah, exactly. Other people are literally relying on you, and that tempers your choice. Like, that's all there is to it. Doesn't matter what novelty items I like anymore. I'm taking the one that does the most damage.
And then there's the interesting one for Mythic Plus in this specific scenario is I believe Venthyr is the shadow jump thing.
Yeah.
That's Mirrors of Torment.
Yeah, that's why I was kind of getting at whenever I said you like to do dungeons, because if you're with a dungeon group and you have basically Obelisk or like Dollar Store Obelisk, right, as a
Yeah.
group, and you're the one guy who doesn't have it, like how awkward is that, right? You just can't
Yeah.
find a group then. You just got to find a different group of people.
You just screwed.
Yeah, it's
Like,
even
what
worse.
if you pick Kyrian, right? Like, oh, good, I got a heal.
Like every expansion, they keep stressing like, oh, we want people to try multiple different game modes. We want them raiding. We want them doing dungeons. We want them doing arena. And then they're like, you pick this where it's gonna be different.
That's the biggest lie of them all, dude. They don't. They schedule the tournaments for this stuff at the same time. Like that's it's obvious that they don't want people doing that. Let me speak from the standpoint of someone who has that kind of person in the guild, right? Like, because Troll does the PvP at the high end, he does the raiding at the high end, he does the MDI at the high end, and they all constantly overlap. It's a huge pain in the ass.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not even talking like top end because there's only so many hours in the day. Like you can't, especially with those like MDI and AWC where they're pretty much constantly going now. Like you can't really have no overlap. I'm talking like the average player. Like they want you to dabble, and
Yeah.
if you're a raider, they want you dabbling in PvP. They want you doing a couple dungeons a week.
I just think it's so weird that they've come out ahead of time, and they even did this like before they even introduced what they'd be doing in the first place. Like they came out and they drew a line in the sand, and then they said, "All right, here's what we're doing." But like they literally came out and said before they even got to this stuff that it would be hard for you to change, and I don't understand why they have to like make an arbitrary choice like that. Like I don't understand who this is for.
I mean, to be fair, we've heard nothing in 8 months since BlizzCon or whatever it was, so maybe they're not so set in the stone on it. But like, yeah, I don't know.
I have a lot of anxiety about this.
Yeah,
I suspect they
this is-
are because they always sort of just like, this is my decision, I'm sticking with it. But maybe it's different.
Yeah,
is
I
the
hope
one
so.
Thing that I think they've kind of stuck to as far as the messages that they are communicating out to the public about how, like, yeah, we've heard your feedback. We're changing this. Legendaries could be currency based, be deterministic, blah 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 blah. But the covenant thing is the one thing they've kind of been consistent in their messaging as far as how difficult this is going to be to change at a later date and how it's a commitment that you're making and yada yada.
Yeah, it's
So
a commitment.
I don't know how up for debate the intricacies of this system is, and that's a big concern.
I don't even know that they need to be up for debate on the whole stuck in a covenant thing. They just need to remove this player power from it. Like, it doesn't fit in the system anyways.
Yeah.
Like, it's fine if you get locked in for 3 weeks or whatever, if it's, some faction thing where you play your story, you get your transmogs, I don't know. That isn't the issue. The issue is the active abilities.
Exactly. Yeah, this right here on the screen. This mill part. This is the issue right here. This stuff. This is the reason why it all falls apart. Everything else is fine. Even the utility. Utility. You know what? That's fine. Yeah. You get the utility. You get whatever. Right. It doesn't affect your rate spot. Probably. It might, but
Especially
probably not.
They might not even be active. Who knows?
Right. But then you add in this stuff, and it's like, okay, well, yeah, you get to choose at least. It isn't like Legendaries where your character's just bricked if you don't get the right one, but like, even then, like, you could choose correctly, and then the game chooses differently because they tune it later on. So, I mean, like, and there's no way tuning's gonna be perfect because it never is. You can count on this getting changed.
Yeah, no, it's something that has to be tuned, no doubt about it, which means someone is going to get fucked.
And then if you look at it again, like as they're displayed to us right now, like Mirrors of Torment is not going to see use in raiding or Mythic Plus, really. Deathborn, I really don't see happening outside of Arcane. Shifting Power just seems like garbage, especially if it's an actual channel. And like, what's that leave you with? Radiant Spark. Okay, cool.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, this is the part that really makes me depressed. I hate, this is why I haven't really looked into this, because I know that this is just going to be a huge thorn in my side. Also, Frost had to go make dinner, so he popped out of the call. For anyone who didn't notice. But yeah, well, I mean, at this point, I don't really know what they're going for here. I have a lot of concerns. I can't really say that anything in Shadowlands has really jumped out at me as being like super hype, but I am really excited for some of the baseline utility stuff coming back. Just, stupid stuff like Arcane Explosion, little things like that make me excited. But what oh yeah, Alter Time too, obviously, best spell. But what are y'all's overall impressions, I guess, of everything so far? If you were to like summarize.
You can't fool me again. My impression. I don't know. I'm apprehensive about some of these changes and the way some of them have been communicated to us. I've tried in the past to give as much feedback as possible to address some very apparent pain points that have cropped up just from reading patch notes or from experiencing things on PTR or alpha and beta. And a lot of those have either gone unaddressed or it's been just kind of line in the sand, like, no, this is the system and we're sticking to it. So the motivation for me personally to get too emotionally invested in like the state of Shadowlands at this point, it's just it's just not there. I just kind of have to see how this plays out, and if they make some sound decisions that end up affecting gameplay in a positive way, that's great. If covenants end up being as problematic as we think they are, I mean, I'm not going to be too surprised. That might like be a deal breaker for me for Shadowlands, but we'll just have to see. I mean, I'm excited about, like you said, some of the little flavor things like cross spec filler type spells getting returned or alter time coming back. Some of the arcane stuff is exciting. Touch of the like new buttons, Touch of the Magi being a new button, or I don't know, another attempt at addressing some of Arcane's rotational problems. I mean, I think that's definitely overdue to have a good, strong look at a lot of those rotation problems that Arcane's been suffering from for like 2 expansions now. But I just had to see how it plays out and cross my fingers.
All right, Dikembe gives it a thumbs down. How about you, Zulandia?
Like, honestly, as I said, I think, as you said, it's too early to say anything about the systems themselves. Like, we'll see when they're on PTR. We'll see what gets changed before it goes live. Because, I mean, the notes aren't particularly helpful and they're not comprehensive or anything, so we can't really judge. What I do like, however, is that we've basically, in this last week, got as much communication from Blizzard, regardless of their design philosophy. We got communication more than we saw for pretty much all of BFA.
That is a good point. Yeah.
3 days, they've put out more posts than an entire expansion. Which I think, if it continues, regardless of any, decisions they make, I think it's good that they're at least sharing their thoughts with people.
Yeah, even if they're like bad thoughts, at least they're communicating, so we
don't-
can
like,
let them
don't
know, right? Like, oh, hold up, this thought you're having is gonna be a problem. Like, you need to rethink this just a little bit.
Like, don't get me wrong, there's a lot of stuff I'm not happy about seeing in these notes, but I think it is good that they are actually putting out communication.
Being in the dark sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
Knowing what they're thinking is so much better than just sitting here wondering what the hell's going on.
Yeah,
this is the first time in a very long time we have some idea what we'll be seeing on the PTR before it actually opens up.
yeah, you have to really give them props for how they've been communicating, not just with this either, like with everything recently. Like, I forget what it was, but like
Their
literally,
stance even, like, yeah.
Yeah, their communication has been on point, and they also have like a new person who's in charge, I guess, of like handling community communications. I forget their name, but I gave them like a shout out on Twitter a while back, and like it's been really good. I think that they're doing a lot better now, so definitely got to give them props where it matters on that one.
No, I agree entirely. For so long we've just been completely reactionary. Like, build goes out to PTR, it gets data mined, then we can actually start talking about it. They are actually giving us some insight on what their plans are, which is fantastic in my mind.
The thing that would get me super hyped for Shadowlands is hearing a lot more about what they're doing to Arcane specifically, because I wish that the overall community was more, if not involved in that kind of decision making, at least informed about it, so they can give some kind of feedback or at least plan for upcoming changes or get an idea of what the gameplay is going to look like in later times. But
like, am I saying they need to keep this cadence of one post a day? No, but like, even when, say, it's launched, if they say, hey, we're looking at this and we're thinking maybe we buff, Arcane next week, even stuff like that helps. In my mind, I don't know.
Yeah, I agree.
Just
definitely agree with that.
Instead of just being completely reactionary on the back foot.
What about you, S?
I don't know. Like, I'm gonna be honest. I'm going to play this game anyways because at this point it's been, God knows how many years. Like, since
The truth comes out.
Get out of it.
I love it.
But I'm certainly gonna be upset at some of the decisions that they make. If mostly around the DPS ability that we were talking about for the last half hour. So like, I want to see the details for the other class stuff because obviously these notes were not good enough, and I don't want to. I want to reserve judgment on it until then. Basically, I want to know, Blizzard, how much ice cream do I need to buy before every patch at this rate, given how it's been going? Like, am I going to be happy? Am I going to be sad? I'm going to be here anyways, but I do, as Zul said, I really do appreciate the communication ahead of time so we can prepare and buy enough ice cream.
Yeah, it's always good to be able to clinch before it happens. I guess in this case, that's the silver lining I have. I'm bracing for impact. I know that I'm not going to like what I end up seeing, probably, but that's okay. And yeah, that is a really funny point that you brought up, which is I'm going to be here regardless, and same. So, yeah, basically I'm humbly coming to you again like the Bernie Sanders meme to request that you don't make me suffer. I really just don't want to suffer. That's really all I'm asking for.
Yeah, I mean, end of the day, we all have like different ideas of what the game should be. Like, we're not gonna be happy with every change, but I don't know. It's just good that they're actually saying, "Here's our stance on it," instead of essences on alts, for example, where like 12 months of can we have essences on alts, and they say nothing, and then all of a sudden no, and then 2 weeks later, all of a sudden we have essences on alts.
Yeah.
Like, okay, cool. You said no was the one thing you said all expansion, and then you went back on it immediately.
We will never have a compound essences. Yeah. I love that.
Fuck off. Like,
they sure do make their cinematics well, though, I gotta say.
Oh,
that is one thing that they really, man. If they ever like quit making video games, definitely just get into that. That seems like a pretty worthy endeavor for them.
Well, that's been the meme for the longest time, is that, I mean, you look at the gameplay of WoD and then you look at the cinematic reveal for it, which is one of the best ones that they've ever released. So the disparity sometimes is very, very clear between what the cinematic department can put out versus what some of the gameplay design decisions have ended up being. There's a couple departments that are always on point there, is what I'm saying.
How about you, Norrinir?
Well, I won't comment on the system changes because that seems like that's going to be still changing a lot. As for the mage changes, I really like the baseline changes, like the alter time, mirror image, even the fire bards, frost bards. As for the specs, I'm hopeful for Arcane. The changes seem pretty good on first glance. Really disappointed they didn't address any of our pain points for fire and frost, like at all. So I hope there are still some changes to come. That's pretty much it.
Gotcha. Yeah. My overall impression too is just, you know, I am always withholding judgment because I want to be pleasantly surprised, hopefully. But I'm anxious. I have a lot of anxiety about this stuff, and these notes aren't really helping me. At least I know that I need to brace for impact, and I appreciate the communication, and I think that some things are good. But the underlying issue that will keep me up is just knowing that I'm gonna have to grind 4 times as hard as I probably would have just because of some arbitrary decision. That's really where it all kind of hits a speed bump for me.
How bad does it have to get for it to be a deal breaker?
That is a question I ask myself all the time. I don't know. I don't know how bad it has to get, to be honest with you. And I know that there's got to be a limit. Like there has to be some form of an upper limit, right? But I think that I think that we'll never hit it. At least for people who I play with, like the THDs of the world, the Roger Browns, people like me, even because I also grind probably pretty hard compared to most. Yeah, I mean the upper limit's scary, and I don't enjoy doing it, but I deal with it just because it's part of something I like a lot. So.
Did you mean hours invested or like Blizzard decisions limit?
So what I mean by limit, or like just like the amount of grind in like a 2-week span. Yeah, like the amount of grind that I can stomach in 2 weeks is it's not a normal amount. Like it's way higher. Like my tolerance for that sort of thing is extremely high. Like we're talking, I think for it to be a deal breaker, it'd probably have to be over 20 hours every day for at least 2 weeks. That's kind of where I think the line might be drawn. But then again, I think I could pull it off. I would just really hate it a lot.
Remember when you did like 30 hours islands a day for 2 weeks? So
yeah, 30 hours every day.
30 hours a day.
30 hours a day, 8 days a week. Yeah. Five weeks a month.
Really a limit? I don't know.
He altered time IRL to get all that shit.
My point is just that whatever amount of grind they put into this game, I'm gonna do it. You know what I mean? Like I'm gonna do it, and I just wish, I really hope that they have the foresight and that they're just what's the best way to put it? I really hope that they are thoughtful. I just really hope that they're thoughtful when it comes to this sort of stuff, because every little decision that they make that might be completely arbitrary is going to have a huge effect on someone like me. And the whole argument of, well, if you don't want to do it, just don't do it. Yeah, that's not how this works. That's not how any of this works. Like, we're going to have to do it. The top end raiders are going to have to do it. So.
It also, like, say, I don't know, just arbitrarily, say it takes 2 weeks or whatever to grind a new faction. You're going to do that in 2 weeks, but it's going to affect that casual player who needs to reroll even more because they're not going to do every single opportunity in that day. It's going to take them 3-4 weeks or whatever, and it's going to be an even bigger pain point for them.
Yeah, and they'll probably quit before they finish because that happens all the time. That's literally what,
the whole time their guild's going to be yelling at them like, oh, why haven't you done your dailies to get your new rep yet?
Yeah.
And yeah, they're just going to stop playing.
Yep. Yeah,
What's the limit it would take for you to swap from mage?
From mage to a different class? I mean, so I just have played mage for a really long time. It wouldn't take much, actually. It's just I really enjoy mage, and there's been a need for mages in this guild ever since I started playing with it. So I don't know. I'm kind of into mage at this point. Like I feel like I've kind of like locked myself in, but probably not too much though. Like if mage is really really bad and I can tell from the expansion that it's gonna be really bad, I'll swap. But yeah, I don't think that is feasible. I don't think that's realistic at all. Mage is always gonna be good at some point in the expansion.
And
We
if
got
not, they'll
focus
get
magic
buffed.
And if not, I have a hunter. I mean, yeah, if not, they'll get buffed, and if not, and if they don't get buffed somehow, I have a hunter that I'll just play anyway. So it's whatever. Like I'm gonna be playing major hunter all the time.
I like what DD said. Just take focus magic and buff a good class.
That's right. Yep, just buff the warlocks. Exactly. Buff the warriors, man. They're gonna execute.
Get your DPS
No,
from
it's-
them to be added to your Warcraft logs pars.
It's only spell damage crits, not all crits.
Oh yeah, I guess so. Boomkin looks pretty stonks rising with the Starfall change.
But all hunters have arcane shot now, so you can buff hunters.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah, big brain move. Survival too, apparently. They're whipping out their bow and just shooting off arcane arrows.
Nah, Disc Priest.
But yeah, I mean, like, so the thing is the encounter designers that they have now, the new folks who made like the stuff in the raid that we just did, they seem to have decided that they make the same decisions that the older teams used to make, like regarding immunities. And then on the flip side of that, the QA team doesn't seem to be testing immunities like they used to. I don't know what's going on with their testing, but so I'll give you an example. On Rodin, we were able to just delete the nightmare, like, from the fight by having it spread to an immunity. And that, to me, would be like the first thing to check on the QA side, right? But they didn't,
Yeah.
and it just worked. And it actually got fixed, like, mid-progression. Like, they tricked us with that. So suddenly it stopped working. But, you know, basically what this implies to me is that they probably had a lot of turnover, and they probably hired a bunch of new people. And whoever the new system designers and people who are in charge of, like, the fights and the QA teams, I think they're starting to make a lot of the same mistakes, or maybe don't call them mistakes, maybe just call them decisions. But they're making a lot of the same decisions regarding immunities that they used to make, where immunities were like just insanely overpowered, right?
Yeah.
There's been so many weird stuff around encounters lately too. Like even like was it like a week or two ago where they just randomly made Rodin the lightning doesn't go away on death anymore?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, super weird, because if you kill someone with it, you die too, right? Because like the person who gets killed will instantly zap back to you, because obviously you're the furthest person, because you just gave it to them, right? So
Yeah,
if
like
applying the lightning to someone kills them, it also kills you. Every time. Unless you have a cheat that.
it's just weird that like I don't know that they make a change like that so far after release.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's weird that they make changes all like that. And then
It's fine. It's fine either way as going away on death or not going away on death. I just don't get why they just arbitrarily decided, you know,
well,
what is it, 3 months into the raid, like, okay, we're changing it to the opposite one.
Or at least tell us. Like finding it out during the poll. was
Yeah.
Part of doing that.
Yeah, like shit. Like I'm hearing Carapace, the gross on the tentacles spawn differently as of this reset.
Yes.
Like why?
Yeah, who knows, man? Who knows?
Why?
And you have to guess, like, are they doing this on purpose, or is this just something that happens on accident? Because, like, that could be the case, right? We don't know.
It could be.
But to expand on the Rodin tangent, there's still a mechanic on that fight that just arbitrarily decides that you die if you don't have an immunity. You can get the Nightmare and the Lightning at the same time. Like, why? Why is that a thing?
There's also still the bug where you can get the lightning twice and die instantly.
Yeah. It's super weird, and I don't understand what they're doing. The encounters in this game are always top notch. It's the best rating content you can get in any MMO, bar none. The most competitive as well. But for some reason, they just do really weird stuff all the time. And apparently right now, they think that immunities are the shit. And they think everyone should have an immunity, and you should stack immunity classes. So that's why I think that Mage is a safe bet, because I'm seeing the trend here. And if I'm reading through the tea leaves in the bottom of my coffee cup, or my teacup here, I'm going to say that Mage is probably going to be pretty strong, because it has immunities, and it has blinks. And, you know, it's got 3 DPS specs. One of them's got to be good.
You know, talking
Also-
about encounter design, I forget who I was watching. It was either like a Bellular or a Preach video or something. Raised an interesting question about gameplay design philosophies versus encounter design. How would you feel about
They have to work together.
much
they never do.
more complicated classes versus a lot less complicated fights, or at least less complicated fights, to offset the fact that the gameplay is more punishing because there's more decision making and there's a lot more to kind of take into account.
To be honest, I like the other way around, actually. I like the WildStar approach, which is you make all the classes like dog shit easy to play, with like very minor optimizations, and you make the fights insane. Like that to me was way more fun.
Stuff gets very samey if you do it where it's all class based, because you're always playing the same class, and then you go from fight A to fight B, but they're basically the same. Like,
yeah. Like in WildStar, like I played Medic whenever I was playing that game. Throwback to WildStar. Anyone else remember that game? Yeah, that was really fun.
3 days it lasted.
I raided a little bit in that game.
Yeah, I raided with Enigma in that game. That's actually like where the roots for Limit actually took hold.
I remember that.
Speaking of like really bad encounter design, can we stop basing random abilities around the global ID? Like, one of the abilities on N'Zoth, for example, like prioritizes the older global unique IDs. So if your character is the oldest one on server or whatever, you just get blasted 3 times as often.
Oh my god, wait, hold on. You're actually blowing my mind right now. Hold on. I need to like unpack this for a second. Okay, so I've had my mage forever, right? And I've noticed that I always
and all that,
yeah, I always get affected by mechanics like way more than everyone else, like consistently. This is not something where it's like, oh, I just think it's happening. No, like it literally, like I can do a fight and I will have 4 to 5 times the amount of mechanics happen to me than maybe even the next person in line.
Yes, they very frequently use the GUID, the Global Unique Identifier.
Oh my god.
For seeding their random things.
So you're saying that I need to make a new character?
Well, you're making 3 more next one, so...
Oh, true. Yeah, I just play one of my new ones then.
It doesn't even have to be new. You can just transfer away and transfer back. You'll get a new one.
Okay, cool. So you're saying transfer my character off the server and back, and that should fix that issue? Man, this is like the best pro tip I've ever heard. Because, I mean, yeah, it's super weird. And, like, sometimes it does benefit you, though. Like, for instance, on N'Zoth, back before they had, like, tanks not get paranoia, you would have a buy or die, right? Like, at the start. And I would always be the one who doesn't have paranoia. Like, the 19th person, I guess. Because it's, like, an odd number.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure the Mithrax targeting worked the same way.
Yes.
It was. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I got... So, me and Henry got, like, more Mithrax fears than, like... Dude, in Refute, too. Oh, my God. You guys are actually blowing my mind.
I think it's Pain Spike on N'Zoth is what I'm thinking of.
Well, there's a lot of things that have this effect. I know that...
yeah, no, there's tons of... Like, every fight pretty much has something. Yep. But Pain Spike from the Spike Tentacles is specifically what I'm talking about when I say N'Zoth. So...
Dude, why did I have to use stuff like this?
Go look, I bet you've got, like, double damage on Pain Spike.
I really hate that they seed things with, like, arbitrary values like this, right? Like... I know that nothing can be truly random, but, like, please don't use stuff like this. It's really frustrating.
Well, and, like, granted, yes, it's easier. So that it's to prevent doubling up, I think, is the intent. So, like, you don't get hit by the same mechanic twice at the same time. It picks different people when it's random. But there's so many ways to get around that without weighting it towards specific people. I don't know.
When did you find out about this?
Oh, they've been doing it for expansions, like years and years.
Okay.
Yeah, it was thinking in Classic as well.
Yeah, Ragnaros.
Okay.
Is based on it. Nixia Fireballs are based on it.
Dude.
Wasn't there a bug in Classic when, like, sometime a couple patches ago?
Yeah, they had to...
You guys don't understand how much this is fucking with my head right now.
They did it on, like, even, like, Classic V2.
Yeah, the best example I remember from my guild is the bridge boss in Antorus. We would have one Fury warrior who was getting slapped like 3 times as often as the next person.
That certainly explains a lot of things.
Yeah, I feel like you guys have actually just like explained the chronic illness I've had my whole life. Like, actually, you basically you're like, yo, you've been diabetic your whole life. That's why you feel like shit whenever you eat candy. It's like, oh. Wow, yeah, I've just been undiagnosed for this huge health issue, and somehow I haven't died yet. Like, holy fuck.
The best part is now you can use this. You can tell Max to go do this and transfer characters and pay for them and, like, reorder your raid groups.
Yeah, this is huge. Well, I'm just going to take this information and use it for my own selfish reasons and not share it with anyone else, but it is good to know. I'm just
Jason,
gonna
you're
go
in the
transfer.
156 here.
Just gonna transfer my guy back and forth real quick. Oh man, this is like
It's
crazy
not
though.
always like one way. It's sometimes the other way too. Like
Could be the
Sometimes
newest
they use
guy.
newest. Yeah. Sometimes they use.
Yeah, I
I
have to
think Keljaden
assess.
was newest.
Yeah, I have to assess what's more. I feel like the oldest one though happens more often, because I
Yeah, this tier oldest is getting
consistently.
fucked.
Yeah, I consistently feel like I'm being picked on in raid by like mechanics that will just constantly hit me, and it's really annoying.
I feel like this might poison your mindset going forward now, because if
Yeah.
some new mage trial comes in and he's just slapping the shit out of you, you're just like, well, you just transferred so we can get in mechanics.
Dude, I'm gonna no. You see, here's the thing. I'm just gonna transfer right now, and then I'm not gonna
Well,
tell
don't forget
anyone.
there's a 3-day lockout, dude.
It's fine. I'll just say my character got sent to
You would-
fucking Narnia or something. Got sucked into the
You're
void.
going for corruption, and you forgot to transfer an alt instead. That's
Middle of the pack. Okay. Yeah, if I want to be middle of the pack for values, like Pure's is saying here, then I guess I want to transfer now and then recruit like 5 new people. I think that's the play.
Yeah, go back to like Peace's first couple raids. Anything that you can retroactively justify any time that he was above you on the meter. You just say, well, you just transferred, so.
Yeah, so does this affect damage abilities as well? Because I've noticed some weirdness when it comes to specifically the cloak proc. Like Wild Swing, I know it's more, this is more of like straight up RNG, but like, dude, the variance we see on logs of people, not just myself, but like other people, like some people have 60% uptime, other folks will have like 10%. Like it's, I know that's our PPM, but god damn.
Yeah, that's just how it works.
God, this game is bad.
Well, because it's like 1 or 1.25 or something lowish, right? It's just
Yeah, it's very low RPM.
What's up?
So
What's up, Vesmic?
the RPPM system really only works in like that 2 to 3 range, but they keep trying to tack it on for like these 20 RPPMs or these half. It breaks. It.
Damn.
And then there's even dumber shit like Psyche having the internal cooldown.
Yeah, I mean,
Or the
I'm
formula
sure
not
you
being
you
known
remember
anymore.
I'm sure you remember the trinket from Gul'dan. It was bullshit.
Yeah,
Like,
Prophecy
you
of
would have it
Fear.
not. Yeah, not Professor
Or
Fear.
no,
The one
no.
from the one with the casting speed. What was it
Whispers.
called?
Whispers
Yeah,
in the
Oh,
dark,
yeah,
Whispers
yeah, yeah.
in the dark, yeah.
it was like you would get 1 proc on a 5-minute fight, and then the next pull you would get like 5 procs. It was just.
Yeah, get rid of all RNG. Like, seriously, the amount of RNG in this
I
game
see.
right now is so bad.
I mean,
Anyways.
RPPM wouldn't be bad if they just didn't keep putting it on really impactful effects.
It would be better if we were informed about the changes that they're doing.
Yeah, that would also
as
help.
well. It feels really bad to retroactively find out that our PPM has been fucked up in Sims or something, or that things have adjusted our PPM somehow. It's like all of that is shrouded in so much dark magic that it's very frustrating to deal with anything that's our PPM based.
Yeah, so much
Deck
comes
of
back to
cards.
just like if they communicated, it would be so much better. So much.
Yeah. Alrighty, well, I'm probably gonna wrap it up here and eat some dinner. If y'all want to do any sort of plugs, feel free to do so. Let's just go down the list. So, what would you like to
Crap, now I'm
plug?
at the top because we changed our nicknames.
Yep,
less
yep.
weird.
It's like the IDs, right? You're at the top of the list now.
Yeah, I just transferred. No, I mean I got no plugs. Just go to the Mage Discord and try to read the pins so that Zool is happy about things. I mean, you can watch me do terrible Carapace prog in about half an hour, but I'll be playing Frost and nobody likes to watch that. So it's just a Frostbolt simulator.
I love Frost so much. Here's the Mage Discord, guys.
Oh yeah, I don't know. Oh man, the website. We need to get Dutch to change the color scheme on that.
There's a night thing that looks horrible, but
Where is
at least
it?
it's not bright.
Yeah, I think I'm using the dark theme one all the time.
Yeah, there's a dark theme.
Yeah. It really
Where do you find the
doesn't look
dark team?
Probably under
It's
the
in
name.
setting somewhere.
Is it? I feel like it's just like a toggle somewhere, like top or bottom. I gotta open this.
Watch it be for admins only.
Anyways, what you do, guys, is you click join us on Discord.
That's
This is where you
how smart
click.
it was,
All
but I
right, so
don't
this
think
is where you click. All right, and then you go to the Discord once you're in there. Okay.
My
And then you
board
come in
preferences,
here
but-
and then you look at whatever channel you're looking at, right? And you look for the pinned messages. Let me say that again for those of you in the back.
On the main page, if you look at the panel on the right side, there's recent topics, and under that is changed.
Oh yeah, change theme on the right.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Yeah, that's so much better. Okay, so once again, once you join the Discord, right, you're going to come in here for the pinned messages, and you're going to read those. So if you go to a channel, and you're like, hey, what's going on here? Always click this little button first. Before you ask any questions, come in here
Yeah, your
and
stream's a
look.
little behind, obviously, but that pin's the one. Just the Google Docs. Everyone, please read it, and then please be nice and don't ask the questions that are in the doc in questions.
We're linking it for you guys.
Flash the
Here,
Supercraft wiki, which is also linked in there, but please just read shit. But
I'm
the
going to add
different
this to my
major-
Nightbot. This is useful.
I like to think so.
Yeah.
The first thing in your
Enter
chat too.
literally almost any question that you have.
We don't really know like how their random stuff works, like the specifics of it, because obviously they keep that pretty internalized. But it's just you can pretty clearly see it's weighted that way. So sorry, we don't know the specifics, but
Cool. All right, I added a little command for that real quick here. So let's go down the list. All right, DeathDefier, not Defiler,
Wow, you go.
Defier.
Yeah. Right now I used to stream all retail raids, but now I only play classic. But I do stream that, and when Shadowlands comes out, I'll probably, come back, try that out. But Twitch, DeathDefier, same as my name on here.
Sweet. Who's next? Dikembe.
Yeah, I'm mostly retired at this point, waiting for Shadowlands. So catch my variety streams sometimes at
They're really
twitch.tv/Dikembe. That's with a BAE.
whoa, they're not shit. The Ori one was really good. The 3 minutes of Red Dead, however, not so great.
Yeah, I agree. That game is not so fucking great.
Yeah, but I'm not watching it for the gameplay. I'm
You
watching
said-
it for you do stupid shit.
Oh, okay, yeah. Here you are. Yeah, I found you. BAE. Got it. And also shout out to Amy. Oh man.
Yeah, rest in peace to Promethean again.
I mean, I would say rest in peace, but it's died so many times that it's hard to keep track of.
She'll be back. She'll be back.
Promethean's
exactly.
already in the Shadowlands.
Yeah, it'll be back in 3 weeks, and then they'll probably break up a month and a half after again.
That's hurtful.
It'll repeat like that ad nauseum.
Oh, have you guys ever done the new no hole clear? We're pioneering it over at Limit Guild. So basically you just never go in the hole. And it's like way better. Like you would be amazed at how much better it is doing the raid if you just never go in the hole.
We're starting to do that this week, and I'm so excited.
Yeah, no hole is where it's at. In fact, we've even told Gallywix like, hey, we don't want to sell the hole anymore. Like if people want to buy the hole, they're gonna have to pay double. So we're doing no fucking holes, no mower. It's gonna be great.
Shadhar Ilganath Dreskat? Is that what you're talking
Yeah, like all the dudes in the hole are fucking done. You're
I
done.
mean, whenever I sell my hole, I always charge double.
Yep, that's right.
Very precious.
My shitty guild's been progging on Nazoth for 2 weeks, so I haven't actually seen the rest of the raid in a while.
You're not missing much at this point.
Damn, so y'all are like extending or something? What's going on?
Well, I mean, we raid 2 nights a week for 3 hours, so it takes a lot out of the raid week to clear. So yeah, we're extending. Nazoth.
Damn,
Kinda
gotcha.
have to in that kind of guild.
Yeah, exactly. You use up like half the raid getting back, Like,
All right, so Kunai.
Kuni.
Kuni.
just throw your knives at him, dude.
I actually Googled because I was like, dude, where is this guy's Twitter? I fucking Googled it and
No,
we've just
don't-
followed you.
oh, no.
You've got 20
Don't do
followers
that.
though.
He already tagged you.
You got 20
Yeah.
followers though. I was looking at yeah, you're tagged in the tweet by the way, so you can't run. But
Hey,
Goddamn.
you got New Horizons, dude?
Yeah, man.
Why haven't you added
What's
me
your
yet?
turnip price?
39 right
47.
now.
yeah,
Ooh,
so
ooh.
the thing that immediately stood out to me about your Twitter is that this is an Animal Crossing stand account, right? Like we only talk
Recently,
Animal
yeah.
Crossing. Yeah, that's fine. I mean, that's what my wife's Twitter looks like too. So
Yeah, I've mostly just
we've been
using
having
it to
some
talk to
fun.
friends.
They make you take 35 pictures a day, so
Yeah, that's
they
right.
gotta go somewhere.
There's not much going on there.
Well, consider yourself followed.
Oh boy. I don't really have anything to plug though, so there's nothing really. I used to stream way back when, but I don't think anyone wants to watch heroic progression, so
Yeah, for those who don't know, Kuni's been around since before all of us. He's like one of the old gods, like one of the primordial oozes.
ex-mythic raider and Midnight Sanctuary recently died, coming out of what,
R.I.P.
Crucible of Storms?
Wait, Midnight Sanctuary died?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
What the?
What?
I know. Like,
Guild has
I thought that
died.
guild was gonna live forever, but
I've been there for like 12 years.
It's finally dead. Raid leader couldn't make the times anymore, so
I couldn't make the 3 a.m. times anymore.
yeah.
It's weird.
Nah, it's just it was one of those guilds at a horrible time slot. It's like, you know, not everyone's gonna be there forever, but no one could step up to raid lead, so it just kind of it's done. So I dropped down to raid with some friends at a heroic level, and I'm just enjoying the game now.
That's good. It's good to enjoy the game.
I wonder what that's like.
Yeah, I don't know what that's like, but it sounds fun.
Considering that like Mythic was burning me out real hard, it's a nice change of pace.
Yeah. Well, that's
I
good.
enjoy everything around the game more than the game nowadays, I swear.
Savor it before you get sucked in again. That's all I have to say. Enjoy it while you can. How about you, Zulandia? You got any plugs?
Nah, I got nothing to plug. I don't
Well,
know.
I'm going to plug your website because people are always asking me for guides, and I always link them the same thing because if someone says, hey, you're looking for a guide, I'm like, yo, have you heard of this guy named Toe Grinder? Have you seen his fire guide on a certain website called Alter Time? This is where you should be going.
It's all linked in there.
Yep. And I'm a very I'm almost a purist when it comes to this sort of stuff. I don't think you should ever digest any information on any other platform until you read a physical guide, like on the website. Like you should read that first. Don't go to YouTube to learn how to play your class. Go to a website with words on it. Read those words. That's the best way to do it.
You should read a physical digital guide.
Yeah, a physical. Yeah, print it out on your printer, put it on a clipboard, and then flip through it, right? Because I mean, okay, I'm memeing, but like, it really is important to like be able to digest information as you're practicing, right? Like as you're hitting the dummy, like you want to be able to like tab over and look. And if you're doing that like with a YouTube video, it's going to be a clusterfuck. Like you're watching a YouTube video feels like you're learning something, but you actually aren't, right? So
I mean, people learn differently, so some people like that. But I just, in general, I feel like
well,
quality of video guides isn't. Granted, I know you just put one out, so I'm not shit talking here. I just feel like the quality of video guides is generally.
It's pretty bad. No, for sure.
It's not great in general, but also not like laid out in a way that actually helps a new player.
Well, I'm coming from the perspective of replying to people who are asking me things, right? And the people who watch only YouTube stuff are always way more clueless. Like there's got to be some sort of correlation between the kind of person who only watches YouTube guides to try and learn something and not actually learning anything, right? Like there's no way it's just that coincidental that, you know, people just don't digest information as well. And, you know, it's like YouTube is great as entertainment and it's great as supplemental education. It's just like, read this guide, like literally open up Alter Time and read this guide. If you haven't ever read this guide about fire, just do it right now. I'll link it and it'll help you out a lot.
There's definitely something to be said for having a guide.
Don't like that version of it.
Yeah, I just linked the new version. So this is the old one I have on my screen.
Because that version will not work.
No, the new version is correctly set up in my stream. When I bought 8.3 Fire Mage Guide for BFA. It's the 8.3 one. The 3 is the key. Do not go to the 8.0 one.
If it's ever like not the correct patch name or something, usually that just means that there's nothing that changed. It doesn't mean it's outdated usually.
Yeah.
Yeah, guys, when we get a patch every 8 months, A guide
Yeah.
being 3 weeks out of date isn't out of date. Stop saying it's out of date.
But bro, why aren't you telling me to weave Scorch? Like, come on, man. I heard that you're supposed to weave.
How did
There's-
I delete
hold on,
something
how
on
do
the
I-
screen?
Control.
Every day in Mage Discord. Oh,
Listen,
the
listen.
date
I
is-
just
The date on this guide is 3 days old.
listen.
Man,
I just
Where's
pressed.
the new one?
I just pressed Control F on this guide and I typed in weave and there were 0 results. All right, so obviously this guide is out of date.
Oh my god. There's definitely a reason Icy Veins makes us sit down and make a change edit. Like, hey, there's a patch. Nothing changed. You get
Yeah.
really dumb questions if you leave it blank.
Yeah, well, this is why I've been directing everyone to. I know that we're like off on a tangent, but I do think that the Altered Time website is a fantastic resource, and I think every mage should have it bookmarked and should visit the website and go look at it. It may not have every bit of information you're looking for, but it's going to have all the general stuff, and it's definitely a good starting point. So definitely hit that up,
Yep.
and also definitely hit up the Mage Resources Google Doc. That I didn't even know about.
I have it bookmarked. I just type it in every time.
Well, my computer basically has it bookmarked. Like if I start
Exactly,
typing,
I
it'll
type
it'll
AL and it's
autofill.
done,
Yeah, exactly.
But
Yeah,
I don't think I
the
have it bookmarked.
discussion may have died on the site, but the guides and everything are always updated and
It's a good hub, yeah.
will be very good to use as a resource.
The site's a better archive than Discord, so Discord's for the
Exactly.
discussion.
Yeah. Yeah, like I would definitely say that like you need to be part of Discord to like keep up to date with like little things, but like having forums, there's still use for forums in 2020.
Oh, while we're plugging stuff, the research channel in Discord does not mean researching the answer to a question that is answered in a frequently asked question or a guide.
Yeah, yeah.
It is for actual research into new things.
Yeah, new things. So if you got the new idea for like the game changer, it's going to change how everyone plays mages. Yeah, research is probably where you go to Control F and see if anyone else has said it, because they probably already did and they were wrong.
And
If
if you're
they
coming
haven't.
in, come with proof. Don't just be like, I have an idea.
Can
Test
somebody
this.
else do this for
Someone
me?
else do this work. Yeah, I have a hunch, but someone else please set this up.
You're
Yeah.
just stealing my plug.
Yeah, we're all stealing your plug right now. All right, Norrinir, go ahead and plug it.
My
Plug
plug
your
is
GitHub account.
yeah, that might actually be interesting. But my main plug is that yeah, if you want to contribute to Mage Theorycrafting or just SimC general, go check the research channel in the Discord. That's the place to be.
He's lying. He's gonna delete your messages.
Trying to find this account.
And Preheat, you can, I guess you can show this on stream and we'll link it since Blizzard is already putting these changes
it the
out so
Frost
people
thing?
can, yeah, so that people can play with it.
Oh yeah, it's the
You're gonna have
Frost
to update
game.
it for the new potential changes.
Yeah, I'm not even gonna bother. I'll try to convince them that my changes are better.
Oh wait, what is? Oh dude, this is neat.
This is a frost simulator with proposed changes.
Check
Yeah,
out
Okay.
Talk
this-
Real
this
Top
is
last
Can I
night.
can I
basically-
change the
Norrinir's
keybinds?
Extreme Frost rotation.
Yes.
You shift click and then you can.
Oh shit.
Also, there's a question mark in the top right. It'll tell you everything you need to know.
Yeah, it's not like live. At least it didn't used to be.
You can also set it to like autoplay while you're testing shit.
Okay, where's the autoplay?
It's on the cog wheel
It's
top
in
left.
the cogwheel. Yeah, there's a.
Oh, this
just
is neat.
check the AI, but AI option or something.
Wow, this is really cool.
Yeah, you can change like the little knobs to do different shit to the rotation.
Have you never seen this before?
I've
Yeah,
never
I'm
seen this before.
Sure, I've linked this to you before.
You've linked this to me before? Excuse me?
Well,
Well,
he's linked it in channel.
I say
don't
probably
know.
not.
Yeah, you've never linked this to
directly.
me. Okay, so explain what these bars are. So I'm assuming that this one is for charges on your flurry, and then this one is icicles. Is that correct assumption?
Yeah, that's
Okay.
And you've got your cast and
basically
GCD.
there's like three main changes, and the biggest one is basically that flurry is an instant that is on cooldown and has two charges. Which just
Yeah.
I think it just works much better than the proc one. because
Yeah,
you can
absolutely.
Save your flurries for spells that matter instead of just using them whenever the button lights up.
Yeah, flurry having charges would fix like so much about the game, It's not even funny. Like, Frost is so annoying with its procs. Because, I mean, yeah, you've got Ice Lance and Flurry, but they're all procs. And it doesn't fix the problem of if you just don't get your procs, then you just can't play the game. No one likes that. No one likes sitting there casting Frostbolt over and over again because you're unlucky. It's like the worst feeling.
Like, turn Glacial Spike back on, you can watch the AI. Like, it saves the one charge for it.
Yeah, I tried to make the AI a bit clever. It's doing pretty decent rotation.
Yeah.
Yep. Looks good to me. Why is he saying I'm a boomer? Ezekiel, where is
printing the physical guide?
Oh, okay, I get you. Cool.
Yeah,
I'm gonna
there
link
was
this, by the
definitely
way,
meant
to you guys.
be one of these for other specs, particularly Arcane, but I don't know, man. I got busy. There's
Yeah,
stuff
that's right.
going on, but you know.
I tried doing one for Arcane, but I just couldn't figure out how to make the spec work in a satisfying way.
Yeah, that's the other bit of this is it's not only an emulator for current gameplay, it also has a lot of tweaks and some gameplay changes that Norrinir feels would be better for the spec.
Yeah, there's.
And trying to think of equivalent gameplay changes for Arcane is like I don't know.
He's got like
a science project.
The experimental spell option or whatever on there too. Of
There's
75
just,
would
there's
help.
just random ideas that I had.
Yeah. You can turn
Experimental spells. Ooh, super cool. Ice Shard, Frost Bomb. Oh, Frost Bomb, sorry. We know what that is.
This is just the button that gives back the old Frost Mastery because Norrinir is in love with it, I think. And
Yeah, old First Master is the best thing.
Didn't you boot over like a private server just to research it or something?
That would be interesting.
No, that's against the TOS.
Oh yeah, I forgot.
Yeah, we don't break TOS here, alright? Not on my watch. Alright.
It's for science.
Yeah, science is fine. Breaking it for science is fine. And this isn't even the game, right? Like you were just simulating something like this, I'm sure. That's what you actually mean.
Yeah, it's just a small simulator.
Cool. All right. Well, that's all I got. So, yeah. Thanks. By the way, thank you everyone for just kind of coming in last minute. I appreciate talking with y'all. I think it was fun. I think we talked about a lot of neat stuff. Not sure what to do with this VOD. I might like just upload it somewhere or something. I don't know. I don't know if anyone would really be interested in seeing this, but if y'all want it, I can definitely give you a copy. But yeah, hopefully what we said, all that stuff about being locked into specific covenants, hopefully all that is just complete fear-mongering and we're just completely wrong about all that stuff. That would be great. I really hope that that's the case. And I really hope that all of our concerns about the classes get expelled as well. That would be really, really great. Just all around great.
One quick note on that, I did notice a lot of the devs that are still on Twitter were saying that because of the work from home stuff, they really can only process things in like text form. So people have to make sure to go leave text comments on one of the comment sites like Reddit or the WoW forums or anything if they're giving any of this kind of feedback.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I do hope that people who are watching also, like, if they have the same concerns we have, that they're, you know, being vocal when they can. Not necessarily, like, being rude, but, like, you know, talking about this stuff. I feel like, it's the only way things really get changed in this game is just if enough people complain about it, so. But yeah, anyways, I'm gonna hop out, guys. Guys and gals, thank you all for coming and chatting. Yeah, this is really cool.
Thanks for having us.
All right, let's do it again sometime soon. Maybe next time, maybe whenever they give us like more information, that'd be cool. Like, and actually plan it out as opposed to just like doing it kind of randomly. I know we used to
get alpha in 2 days.
Yeah. Well, I'm definitely gonna be talking to y'all a lot, I'm sure, whenever that happens. But yeah, like I remember we used to like do stuff like this on like Final Boss. But you know, maybe it's time to do our own thing. Who knows? Anyways,
I'm still waiting for the Final Boss Frost thing. That's been supposed to happen for I don't know how.
Yeah, I was hoping that would happen either before or sometime like during the Shadowlands alpha with enough time to mostly to show off the GUI thing that you had made.
Yeah.
Does
Like the larger
does Alter Time have like a Twitch page or anything like that? Like, how does? Do y'all have
we
any
had the
way of?
team for we had the mirror image team that was in the like Alter Time Twitch team, but it was like the mage team or whatever that we had.
It's basically just concerned server people, yeah.
Yeah, and I think most of them are retired or inactive at this point.
Yeah, I mean that's just the way it is. I think for every community right now, to be honest with you.
Yeah, there's always the posts for like notable mage streams or something that sometimes those get updated like before tiers or expansions at least. I don't know when the last time it was updated was.
It's too hard to keep up nowadays with people just like quitting, and I never know who's streaming and not streaming anymore.
Yeah, I think you had made the last iteration of that post, right?
Yeah, I have the post, and then I think Zul used to have a list on that doc, but I think he got rid of it.
Yeah, I cleaned it up, but it's just hard to maintain. People stop streaming, people re-roll. Anyone who stays re-rolls basically. And it's, yeah. Or they change guilds, and then people are like, "Oh, not in this guild anymore. Change the document."
Yeah.
Like that's the most important part of the link.
I'm not in Midnight Sanctuary anymore. Can you update that?
Yeah, I'll update it in my stuff.
All right, thanks.
All right. All right. Anyways, yeah, I know I've said goodbye 3 times, but I keep getting off track. But anyways, thanks for coming, and I'm signing off.
See you
Laters.
Later, guys.
See you.
Love you.
See ya.
Okay. The love you was a bit much. All right, guys, that's it.